Our story begins in a golden room where we see a young nobleman and a maid spending time together. That afternoon, a very special tea was served. It was a unique blend of mint with a touch of cream. The young woman was very eager to see the nobleman's reaction as he tasted the tea. The nobleman with white hair and blue eyes paused for a few moments, and while gently stirring the drink, he asked who had prepared that tea. A young brown-haired maid stepped forward, saying that she herself had prepared it. However, out of nowhere, the man dropped the cup on the floor. It ended up shattering into several pieces. Everyone was frightened by the nobleman's attitude, as he wore an expression indifferent to everything that was happening. Soon after, he called a butler over, stating that he had not liked the tea and that the maid should therefore be dismissed immediately. The blonde young woman was shocked by the man's insensitive reaction. 1 week earlier, at Count Emmanuel's mansion, the same blonde girl carried a tray with tea to her father. The man took a sip and praised the tea prepared by his daughter, saying he had never tasted anything so delicious. She felt happy at the compliments he gave her, and her face blushed slightly. But the truth was that this girl was a tea enthusiast who had reincarnated as the youngest daughter of a noble family. Black tea, oolong tea, herbal tea. Finding so many varieties in that place made her very excited. With a smile, she reflects on what had helped her adapt to that new world. Besides the varieties of tea, there was a boy she had known in childhood. That young boy was the first person she had ever served tea to in her entire life. She remembered how she had promised that one day they would open a tea shop together. But her thoughts are interrupted by her father, who asks her, "Anna, how about getting a job as a maid at the palace?" She was shocked by the suggestion. Now that she was grown up, he needed to be honest, because her older sister would inherit the mansion, and there would not be much left for her. Anna, our protagonist, begins to wilt with sadness as she listens to her father say that the salary at the palace was decent and that she could even retire one day. Out of nowhere, she slams her hand hard on the table. Startled, her father asks if something was wrong, and she begins to answer. With a smile, she says that she will do her best. After all, earning a good salary while working for the prince, she could finally open her tea shop in the city. After that day, her father got her a job as a tea server at the palace, and soon she would be able to work with the finest leaves. Anna could not imagine a better opportunity. All that excitement was long before our protagonist discovered the prince's temperament, as he dismissed employees on a mere whim. In the palace hall, the servants whispered among themselves, asking whether the prince had broken another cup or if another maid had been dismissed. Anna listened to all those whispers, trying somehow not to become worried. More girls talked among themselves, looking at the protagonist as if she would be the next one. Anna closes the door behind her and slowly slides down to the floor. On the verge of a panic attack, she wonders if she was safe there. Should she just quit? Then the girl has a brilliant idea. She approaches the study table, opening a book magically. The enchanted book asks her, "How was your day?" And then, using a quill pen, she begins to tell him that she had left work early and asks if he was still working. In truth, that book was a magical diary because everything she wrote appeared instantly to her friend. This meant that if they were lucky, they would be able to talk in real time. She wrote to her friend, telling him that she was starting to find the new job harder than she had expected. Her friend wrote back asking what kind of job she had gotten, and she told him that she was in charge of tea for some very important people. She also revealed that the owner was a tyrant who dismissed employees for fun. Then someone called out to her, giving the girl a huge scare. A bit clumsy, she hides her magical book and asks them to wait for her. She hesitantly opens the door, asking who was calling for her. A maid timidly apologizes for the interruption. Soon after, she explains that the head maid had summoned her to the tea storage room. Anna asks if she should go immediately, and the girl confirms that she should. The girl knew that this did not seem like a good omen. The head maid says that Anna's probation period had ended that day. Right after that, she asks Anna to prepare Her Highness's tea together with Libby, the other maid. The young woman tries to avoid the task, but the head maid tells her that she would receive a very high salary in return. Anna knew very well that that amount of money would be enough to support an entire family for almost 2 months. She takes the woman's hands and says that she will do her best. Smiling at the brown-haired young woman, she says that she is counting on her support. Then, Libby says that she will prepare the tea table and kindly asks Anna to take care of the leaves. That was the first time Anna would serve tea to the prince. She wanted to do something remarkable, so she began choosing among the bags of tea leaves. And finally, she chose a very special one. Anna remembered that this tea had been highly praised at the last ball. She hoped that your highness would appreciate it as well. Libby watched apprehensively as her coworker let out little giggles while preparing the leaves. As the two of them walked down the corridor, Libby told Anna that she had seen the prince in a good mood, so she hoped that no problems would occur for the two of them. Our protagonist was optimistic that he would like the tea they had prepared, or at least, that was what she thought, until Libby was dismissed right before her eyes. The snobbish prince asked Anna if there was any more tea for him to taste. The terrified girl said that she would prepare another one. She served him a freshly boiled blend. Anna was trembling with fear. And when the prince took the first sip, she shrank back, waiting for his reaction. He asked if she was the new maid he had heard so much about. Anna promptly replied that she was in charge of serving his tea. The man fell silent for a few moments. And soon after, he praised her tea, saying that it was delicious. Anna was shocked. The prince explained to her that it had been a long time since he had drunk such a good tea. Anna felt honored by such a compliment. How could it be that she had received praise precisely from him? Afternoon fell over the palace. In his study, the prince wrote in a book. The door slowly opened, and the butler informed him that the maid was still confined in the dungeon beneath the palace. The man approached the noble, explaining that if she remained there any longer, it could upset the other servants. But the prince merely replied that he did not need to worry about that. The prince ignored the butler's protests and ordered him to make sure they were served tea more frequently starting tomorrow. In the dungeons, a torch crackled in the shadows. Libby was very sad, confined in a small cell, far away from the other maids. In addition, she had noticed how the atmosphere in the dungeon was very gloomy. Suddenly, behind her, a blonde young man appeared, saying that her good work would not be ignored. Being so close to the prince was an exhausting task. He looked at her with a strange expression, saying that they should keep their promises. His hand reached toward the young woman, and he said only, "Goodbye." The special menu of the day included Anna's special tea, which had a rich, creamy aroma. Anna stopped for a few moments in front of a knight in armor before a large door. She was trying not to show it, but she was truly very nervous before serving tea to the prince. Inside the room, a nobleman was reporting a delicate situation to the prince, who looked distractedly from side to side. The two men spotted the young woman and interrupted the meeting. The prince gave a gentle nod of his head for her to approach. Anna pushed her tea cart, moving closer to them. Our protagonist remained silent while the noble insisted that the prince look over the documents again, but he seemed uninterested. Tired of that meeting, the prince ran a hand through his hair. Pausing for a few moments, he looked at Anna. He watched her as she gracefully served the tea. The young woman smiled, her gaze cheerful and attentive, as she carefully sweetened the tea with honey. At that moment, the prince noticed that she seemed a little apprehensive and trembled slightly as she carried the tea to him and his guest. Finally, she noticed that the coffee table was crowded with important papers and that she would not be able to place the tray on it. The prince gave her a friendly look. The young woman apologized and asked him if she should return later. The guest seemed very annoyed by her interruption. Turning to the nobleman, the prince told him that he could leave. The man did not seem to have understood very well. The prince cast him a cold, impassive look. Then, the noble gathered his papers and said goodbye, leaving Anna and the prince alone in the room. She handed the tea to him and waited for his reaction. However, before drinking, the man asked her for an explanation about the tea. Anna was still trembling slightly, but she knew that she could not refuse. Our protagonist begins to explain that the tea was made from the first harvest of the south, collected at the beginning of the season in the high plains region of the kingdom, and had been prepared with the softest leaves of the bushes. The prince begins to interrogate her, asking if she was sure about what she was saying. Anna feels like she is in an interrogation. She asks if he was already satisfied, but the prince replies that he had more questions for her. The man casts a harsher look in her direction and asks directly whether she would mind if he asked more questions. Although Anna displays a radiant smile, mentally the girl was very frightened. Later that night, Anna was quite distressed, sitting in her study. However, she also thinks that serving tea to the prince, knowing his demands, had not been as bad as she thought it would be. But Anna was truly devastated seeing her coworkers being dismissed. One of them was even her age, and they had planned to go out together. However, the prince found her tea too bitter and sent her away. Another young woman invited Anna to visit her family's bakery. But the prince did not like her tea either, and Anna had to watch her friend being carried away by a knight. She wonders if she should resign as well. Suddenly, the magical book opened. Written inside was the message. "How was your day?" Anna's friend, with whom she corresponded, hopes that she is not working too hard, worried that someone might be bothering the young woman. She looks at the book with tears in her eyes. She begins to tell him about her difficult day, since her co-workers had been dismissed before they even managed to train her. Anna's friend judges that place to be very poorly managed, and then he invites her to work with him. However, she gently declines the invitation, because if they worked together, they would not be able to talk freely like they were at that moment. She thanks him for the offer, for she knew it was a very meaningful gesture since her friend's family worked with commerce and imports, and soon he would be the heir. Soon after, someone surprises her by knocking on her door. Who could it be at that hour? Anna begins to open the door and comes face to face with the head maid. The woman casts her a stern look. She informs the young woman that starting tomorrow, the prince's tea breaks will be doubled. Anna becomes confused by that information. The head maid explains that the current schedule will remain, but that the prince would like to snack between lunch and dinner, so they would serve tea with the appropriate accompaniments. Anna was terrified at the idea of not only having her work shift doubled, but also facing the prince more often, increasing her chances of being dismissed. The soul of our protagonist was already leaving her body, but the head maid revealed an even more important piece of information. Since Anna would have double the work, her salary would be doubled as well. Envisioning a future filled with gold coins, Anna happily accepts the increased workload. The next day, Anna was in her room preparing more teas, wondering what she had been thinking when she accepted the doubled work. Needing that money was very embarrassing. As if it were not terrifying enough to deal with the prince's demands, why did he constantly bombard her with questions? Anna had mistakenly thought that he was quiet. In the afternoon, after returning from several visits bringing tea to the prince, Anna arrives exhausted in her quarters, and suddenly her magical book glows with a golden light. She picks up the book and reads her friend's message asking if she had already had dinner. As she had been swallowed by work, she had barely managed to stop to eat. Her confidant friend assumes that she had a busy day then. He asks if there was a specific reason for her to be working in that unhealthy place. Through the magical book, he suggests that he could recommend her to work in other places if she did not feel comfortable working with him. The young woman feels happy seeing how much he cares about her. She explains to him that despite the work being exhausting, the pay was very good, and that was why she decided to wait a little longer. The friend asks her what the reason was for saving so much money. Anna, remembering her childhood friend, reveals that she was saving to open her tea shop in the capital. There was someone she very much wished to meet again. She remembers the prince's implacable gaze. Our protagonist was determined to do everything within her power to make the prince fall in love with her tea. When she opened her tea shop, she would very much like her friend to visit her. She had already planned everything. On the ground floor, guests would enjoy teas and small snacks. The second floor of the shop would be reserved for more exclusive clients, with very refined tastes. The friend wonders what that exclusivity was about. Anna explains that they were people who were very important. The young man did not seem to have understood, since his language was different. Before she could write another sentence, the book slipped from her hands. Flying through the chambers, the book released its pages as if caught in a whirlwind. Anna could not understand what was happening and tried to protect herself from the pages that were flying around. Suddenly, the book began to shine intensely with a golden light. Anna looked at the book in shock as it fell. Because of the commotion, her room was left completely messy. It had been very frightening. She picked up the book, and when she opened it, she saw a simple bookmark. The young woman took the piece of paper, trying to decipher what was written on it. On the small piece of paper, there was a message telling her never to reveal to anyone that she was a foreigner. Where could that have come from? On today's menu, Anna's special tea is honey tea. It was a drink with natural properties that would prevent you from catching a cold for a while. Who could have sent that mysterious message? The delicate bookmark had a beautiful engraving. Anna wondered if that message had been sent by the man who sold her that book, and she realized how she should have been more careful. She uses a small cloth to clean the table, which had become messy after the pages flew around. She realized that there was something very peculiar about that bookseller. He had given her the book for free, as a gift. The man wore a mysterious smile while saying that she would love that book. On the very same night she had received it, it had already glowed with the same golden light, and its pages had moved. The next day, when she tried to discover the origins of that book, the bookstore no longer existed. In its place, there was an ice cream shop. That took Anna by surprise. After buying a strawberry cone, Anna asked the employees if there had been a bookstore there before, but they simply replied that that place had always been an ice cream shop. Could that mysterious bookseller have been a foreigner like her? At first she was frightened, but now she could no longer imagine her life without the magical book, through which she could talk to her friend. Suddenly, as if by magic, golden sparks appeared around her hand. Anna wakes up immediately upon feeling the magic returning to the book. She holds the book, very excited. On the pages there was the following message. "May I tell you a secret?" The girl, happy that he had returned, says yes. Anna smiles as her friend confides that it is about a friend of his. That friend has had a secret crush on someone for quite some time. However, he was not sure how to tell her. Anna is impressed that he has a secret crush and says that he can count on her. She advises him, saying that he should meet with her more often. And then, fill her with questions. Besides that, keep the conversation focused on topics she likes. She would probably like him in the future. Anna enters the chambers, pushing her cart, and soon spots the prince. He looked exhausted, reading stacks and stacks of papers. The prince looks at the young woman, and despite his tired appearance, he remained very attractive. Our protagonist remembered the butler's words, who earlier had warned her that the prince had not slept that night, and that perhaps he was more irritated than usual. Anna wonders what might have disturbed the prince yesterday. Truly exhausted, the prince asks in a weak voice if his tea is ready, and Anna begins to prepare it immediately. She hands him the cup, discreetly drawing his attention. The girl explains that she prepared a slightly stronger black tea, as she had learned that he had slept very little that night. The prince takes a sip of the tea. Anna watches him as he lets out a long sigh after drinking the tea. She begins to leave, but the prince asks her to stay there with him. With a friendly look, he says that he has time for them to chat a little. Anna is surprised to see that he, despite his fatigue, asks her about that day's tea. The tea specialist begins to explain that it was made with leaves harvested along the river valleys of the southeast. The prince notices a slightly different flavor. She explains that she had added a bit of chocolate and cinnamon to enhance the flavor. The prince comments that he loved the conversation, but that he needed to return to his duties. After leaving the chambers, Anna sighs in relief that the questions were over. She herself had thought that he would not have time to question her that day. Someone calls Anna in the corridor. A woman named Constance was cheerfully waving at our protagonist. She says that she had come there to talk to Anna about the prince's dinner menu. The woman is very happy to see that Anna had not been dismissed. Mrs. Constance was the head chef in charge of all of the prince's meals and desserts. She was the person Anna trusted the most in the entire palace. The girl remembers that at the beginning, she was still very clumsy and anxiously fussed over the dishes in the kitchen. Some girls gossiped behind Anna's back, and she felt very uncomfortable hearing all of that. Suddenly, Mrs. Constance enters the kitchen, interrupting the other maids' gossip and telling them to stop. Where were the tea leaves she had requested? Mrs. Constance then spots Anna quietly crying. She gently pats the girl on the shoulder, which surprises Anna. Mrs. Constance kindly comforts Anna, saying that everything was all right. The woman explains that the prince would not be angry over a small delay, and she places a handkerchief in Anna's hands. On that small handkerchief, there were some cookies that looked delicious. Mrs. Constance strokes the young woman's blonde hair, saying that earlier she had only been joking, and tells Anna that she was doing an excellent job. She reveals that every time she stood before the prince, her heart raced intensely. With a big smile on her face, the woman offers Anna a slice of pie. Our protagonist offers to prepare a delicious tea to accompany the pie. She hands the tea to the woman. Mrs. Constance says that nothing compared to the teas made by Anna. Anna prepares to take a bite of the delicious pie in front of her. Indeed, it looked very good. The crust was delicate and the filling was very generous. Anna tasted a piece and said that it was very good. Mrs. Constance was very kind and told Anna to eat as much as she wanted. Our protagonist was completely amazed by the flavor of the pie. Then, catching the young woman by surprise, the lady asks if Anna had already finished all of her tasks for that day. Anna quickly stands up, remembering some things the head maid had asked her to do earlier. Laughing softly, Mrs. Constance says that everything was fine. And then, absent-mindedly, Anna knocks over one of the teacups. Anna feels embarrassed by the small accident, and while apologizing, offers to clean the table. But Mrs. Constance asks her to return to her duties, saying that she could take care of it calmly, only asking that next time Anna prepare another tea for them. Anna says goodbye, thanking her for the wonderful pie, and runs off. Mrs. Constance thanks her for the compliments and says that next time she will make something even more delicious for them. As she runs through the corridors, Anna laments the incident and thinks about how much she would have liked to eat more of that pie. The woman calmly cleans the table. Phew. Finally, everything was clean again. On the table, the cups, the pie, the teapot, and even the flowers seem to shine. Mrs. Constance considers wrapping up a slice of pie for Anna to eat later. And then she notices an important detail. The lilies seem to have become even more beautiful. What was the reason for that? On the special menu of the day, Mrs. Constance's pie featured slices of fruit baked with honey, and she decorated each pie in a special way. Do not tell anyone, but apparently she had more than 1,000 pie recipes. A new day begins at the palace. The most varied flowers and different herbs were hanging from the ceiling to dry, thus making Anna's work easier as she stretches after having organized everything. The young woman was very satisfied after organizing all the tea leaves, because that way she gained more time between breaks and could read a little. We go back in time a bit to Count Emmanuel's mansion. A woman slams her hand on the table, arguing with Anna. In fact, she was Anna's older sister, and she was complaining about the fact that the girl did not know the newest book, which was the sensation of the city. Back in the present, Anna found the book her sister had lent her a long time ago. Our protagonist dusts off the book, which curiously was titled, "I contract married the wealthiest, terminally ill duke, but the emperor won't stop obsessing over me." It did not seem like a very appropriate title for her life at the palace. That book told the story of a young and radiant girl who happened to meet the emperor by chance. The young man falls hopelessly in love with her. Driven by the obsessive love he harbored for the girl, he not only awakened his powers, but also defeated all of his enemies. In this way, he conquered the throne, becoming a tyrant. Years later, he and the girl met again. The young emperor, covered in red blotches, seemed frozen in time. The frightened girl told him to stay away from her. However, she had not recognized him as the emperor. Then, someone knocks on the door of Anna's room. A little boy with golden hair and eyes appears, informing her that the prince had finished his lunch earlier that day. With a smile, he asks Anna to prepare tea for him immediately. While hiding the book with a small cloth, Anna asks the boy, whose name is Arthur, what the prince had for lunch. The boy replies that the prince had asparagus with fish fillets for lunch. After that, he ate a fine filet mignon steak. For dessert, he will have a chocolate pudding. Sometime later, Anna served a delicate iced tea with mint leaves. The prince looks confused at the cup, seeing ice cubes floating in the drink. He asks her what that was. Anna steps forward and asks if he would like to know the name of that tea. The butler is shocked by the girl's cleverness. The prince watches Anna with curiosity as she begins to explain that the drink was called. Suddenly, she remembers that the reference for the name of that tea did not exist in that universe. She needed to think quickly of an alternative. And then, the girl says that the tea was called Moro Mint Tea. The prince seemed interested in knowing more. She also revealed that they had received some special mint leaves, and that was why she gave it that name. The tea was then a mixture of mint leaves with sliced pieces of apple. Our protagonist continues her explanation, claiming that the mint was a bit strong and could mask the flavor of the tea, but she used toasted leaves to balance the blend. The prince found that solution very insightful. The excited girl says that there were other ways to solve that. But the truth is that the prince was barely listening to her words. He could only notice the young woman's joy as she talked about tea. The nobleman seemed to become very animated as she shared her knowledge. Sometime later, Anna needs to return to her duties and says goodbye to the prince. He watches the girl walk away as she hums something softly. Suddenly, the prince begins to call her. Pulling one of the ribbons of her bow, he calls her by name. With an anxious look, he begins to ask her. Anna is surprised to hear the prince ask her what her opinion is on the empire's tax policies. Our protagonist truly does not understand what he wants with her. In a teacher-like tone, the prince asks her to list 5 advantages and disadvantages of the empire's current tax system. Anna freezes, as she understands none of that. He asks her a dilemma, whether she would rather save travelers in a carriage or run over people on a bridge. What a bizarre question. Anna thinks it was better when he was asking her about teas. She noticed how much he truly appreciated teas and desserts. The prince loved tasting cookies. And fine chocolates as well. How did he eat all that and stay in shape? Back in the tea room, Anna was on the floor reflecting a little. The young woman tried to push her thoughts away from the prince's beauty. Resuming her reading, the prince in the story had decided to propose marriage to the protagonist. A marriage proposal sealed on a red parchment with a golden seal. But the protagonist of the book manages to foresee the tyrant's plans with the help of a butler. To escape the marriage proposal, she seeks out a duke who is ill and proposes a contract marriage to him. The duke had been in love with her for years and immediately accepts the young woman's proposal. Anna continues reading the book, thinking that things were getting more interesting. However, she wonders who the real male protagonist of that story was. Far from there, in other chambers, the prince calls his butler, Derek. The butler asks the prince if he had made any mistake in the royal accounts. The prince says that Derek's calculations were impeccable. What was this? Was the prince reading the same book as Anna? The nobleman tells the butler that he would like to ask him something. The young man seemed quite hesitant. He waits anxiously while the prince silently flips through the book. Suddenly, the prince asks Derek how to be successful romantically. Derek is completely shocked, unable to react. The special menu of the day was Anna's Moro mint tea, an excellent accompaniment for heavier meals. The prince begins to explain that a friend of his was in need of advice and wanted to know how to succeed in romance. Then, the prince justifies himself by asking if there was any subtle way to discover someone's tastes. Derek wonders who had the courage to ask the prince for romantic advice. The nobleman explains that he thought that spending more time together would make them closer. But contrary to what he thought, it pushed them further apart. The young butler is surprised to realize that the prince was actually talking about himself. The young man then understands that this must be why the prince had been so demanding lately. He remembers running with stacks of papers to one side, and soon after running with stacks of books to the other side. And he even had his sleep interrupted by the prince's demands. At that pace, Derek could be the first butler to be dismissed. The prince asks what he thinks. The butler kindly suggests that His Majesty's friend could highlight his strengths to the person he admires. The two men talk about some interesting suggestions. The next day, Anna knocks on the door to bring tea to the prince. When she opens the door, the young woman is almost blinded by the prince, who was extremely radiant that day. Derek's first piece of advice had been to emphasize his strengths, so the prince was radiant. The second piece of advice he had been given was that he should remain silent beside the person he was interested in. The prince stands up, and Anna tries to cover her face with her hand. That day's special tea was made with the harvest of the softest leaves of that season, topped with delicate flowers from the central region of the kingdom. The prince remains silent while Anna courteously serves the tea. Inside, our protagonist cannot help noticing how handsome the prince is. He had a delicate face with beautiful blue eyes and light-colored hair. On top of that, a very exotic appearance. While serving the tea, Anna explains that the high plains have a mist that preserves the flavor of the harvested flowers and leaves. The delicacy of that tea pairs very well with the dessert served at the palace. The prince takes a generous sip. Anna becomes very confused because she does not understand why he has stopped asking questions, and the sudden silence is something new to her. Finally, he finishes the tea. Anna discreetly steps away from him with a bit of haste, before he could bombard her with questions. However, upon hearing her leave, the prince opens his eyes. Peeking through a crack in the door, Derek asks whether the tips were working. Later, Anna wonders what the prince's mood would be like that afternoon. With a serious expression, Anna enters the chambers. But before she can present the tea she is carrying, Anna receives a big surprise. For what reason in that universe had the prince decided to dress in clothes from the southern region of the empire? What she did not know was that Derek's third piece of advice was that the prince should expose himself more to her. Anna can barely hide her surprise at that. Quite nervous, Anna says that that day's tea was infused with cranberries. Seeing her so nervous, the prince asks if she is feeling well. Anna is shocked when she sees the man's perfect abdomen. The young woman abandons the tea on the table and runs out of the prince's chambers. The nobleman is unable to understand why Anna ran away from him. Later, in Anna's quarters, the young woman is still very shaken by what happened earlier, unable to believe the way she had run out of there. She wonders what kind of torment that was. Was he trying to make her resign? Our protagonist feels insecure, thinking that the prince was trying to punish her for having gotten the job through her father's recommendation. Anna was very apprehensive. Very afraid, the young woman wonders if she would be the next one to be dismissed. With trembling hands, she opens the drawer and looks for her magical book. Still nervous, she reaches for the ink pot to write. However, due to her nervousness, the pot slips from her hands and the ink spills onto the paper. Trying to apologize, she apologizes to the mysterious friend and asks if she could ask him for advice. But no reply came. A few hours later, finally Anna is awakened by the book's golden glow. Her mysterious friend apologizes for taking so long to reply, lamenting that she is having trouble. On the other hand, he is glad to know that she trusts him and that she would like to help her more. She wonders if he had stayed up late just to reply to her. She thanks him and says that his words made her happier. The next day, Anna is no longer afraid of the prince and is determined to make a lot of money by the end of that year. The young woman asks whether Derek is feeling well. The butler confesses to her that the prince had finally gone to sleep after a sleepless night. Anna realizes that this was already the second time she had received that kind of news, and so she decided to leave the tray in the prince's chambers. Recently, the prince had been overloaded with work and had spent several nights unable to sleep well. Derek advises Anna to take the tray and leave it there. Anna walks on tiptoe through the room. It was difficult to walk there with so many papers scattered around. The prince mutters something in his sleep while Anna places the tea on the central table. She notices that he is sleeping with his head resting on his arm, and because of that, he could end up with a terrible neck pain. Well, Anna could do something to help him. She bends down, moving closer to him. Gently touching his face, Anna tries to adjust his posture, and she pushes his head a little. But at that exact moment, the prince says her name. Anna is very surprised, and her face turns very red. The special menu of that day was Highland tea, prepared with soft leaves. It had a very light flavor and paired well with very sweet desserts. Now, in her quarters, Anna wonders what she should do. The prince seemed to have lost his mind. She remembered hearing him whisper her name while he slept. Our protagonist was very confused. After all, why had he said her name? She wonders if she would be dismissed soon. Someone knocks on her door and Anna becomes desperate, thinking that they already had her dismissal letter ready. The door slowly opens. Anna asks Arthur if she was going to be dismissed. The little boy could not understand what she was talking about. Anna asks him what the reason was for the prince not having called her to take his tea that day. Then Arthur explains to her that the prince dismissed people right in front of them. So if she was still there, it was because she was safe. Anna feels relieved, and the boy informs her that the prince was dining at that moment. Looking at the window and seeing that it was not yet night, she wonders why he was dining so early. The young woman remembers that he was still very tired after staying up all night, so perhaps he had decided to go to sleep earlier. Arthur confesses to Anna that the empress, the prince's mother, had suddenly arrived at the palace. The young woman is astonished by that event. The boy also reveals that the empress had personally asked to taste Anna's tea, and because of that, the kitchen was in an uproar. Our protagonist was shocked that the empress had asked for her. In her quarters, Anna separates some herbs and wonders what kind of tea the noblewoman would like. In her sister's book, the empress loved hibiscus tea. Anna studies what that could mean. However, she closes the book, wondering if different empresses might appreciate other types of tea. The young woman reflects for a few moments. Perhaps if she adjusted her recipe, she could make something that would please the empress. The skilled young woman adds, honey, wild blueberries. Mixed with the striking flavor of hibiscus, the blend could turn out incredible, especially since it contained no caffeine, making it a perfect tea for the beginning of the evening. Anna separates some dried leaves. She imagines how much the prince must be in need of a good night's sleep. The empress hums something softly while her maid clears a plate. On one side of the table, the prince sits beside Derek and other maids. And on the other, the empress seems very entertained by her visit. She gives a cheerful smile, but the prince reveals that she was making everyone uncomfortable. He asks her directly what she had come to do there all of a sudden. Waving her hand, the noblewoman asks him what the problem was. That could be solved by adding one more plate to the table. The empress was curious to try the famous tea made by a young girl. She wanted to know if the rumors were true. A few months earlier, at a gallant party at the palace, the prince was drinking a beverage accompanied by his butler. And out of nowhere, he calls Derek. Pointing to one side, the prince asks Derek who the young woman serving the drinks was. Derek tells him that the young woman was the youngest daughter of Count Emmanuel, Lady Anna. Apparently, she made teas that pleased the nobility greatly. The prince notices the girl's smile and friendly attitude. Derek asks him if he would like anything else to drink. The prince simply replies that not there. Curious, Derek asks, then where? The prince then orders Derek to hire the young woman as a palace servant. And then, back in the present, the butler seems very satisfied to have hired her. The prince is slightly irritated by his mother's behavior. The prince tries to get her attention, but the empress had already set her eyes on Anna. Our protagonist enters the dining room, pushing her elegant cart. The prince stops for a few moments, staring at her. Anna notices this and becomes a little hesitant. However, the empress remains unshaken. Anna immediately begins preparing the hibiscus tea for her. That day, not only the tableware was very beautiful, but the desserts were as well. The prince and his mother patiently wait for the tea to be prepared. The noblewoman observes everything in silence. She notices her son's demeanor, as there seemed to be something different about him. It was as if she could see Anna reflected in his gaze. Despite remaining quite attractive, the prince looked very tired. Anna noticed that and wished she could do something to help him. Next, she decided to steep the tea for a little longer. The prince looks at Anna as she carefully prepares the tea. The empress analyzes them meticulously. On the other side of the table, the prince stares at Anna, making the young woman a little embarrassed. Inside, she wonders how a single minute could take so long to pass. The hourglass slowly measured time, the grains of sand falling gently. The hibiscus tea was ready, and Anna served the cups. The empress then asks if that really was hibiscus tea. Anna confirms and reveals to the noblewoman that the hibiscus petals had been infused with various fruits. Our protagonist feels honored upon hearing the empress praise her, acknowledging her talents for making tea. The noblewoman seems very satisfied with the drink. She confesses that it had been a long time since she had enjoyed a tea of such excellence, and tells the young woman that her father loved hibiscus tea. Especially when they were younger, her father courted her mother by making tea from freshly picked hibiscus leaves from the garden during the summer. Anna pauses for a few moments and wonders where she had heard that before. The prince becomes curious to know when that had happened. The empress tells him that his grandfather had spent many years of his life in the western region of the kingdom when he was younger. Confused, the nobleman asks whether his grandmother should not have met his grandfather after he had taken the throne. The empress asks if the grandfather had told him that. He was probably embarrassed about the time he spent as a hostage. The prince is already very confused because that would mean his grandmother had married again. What a mess. After all, his grandmother was the Duchess of Rosewood. Anna begins to remember that in the story she was reading, the female protagonist had her first romance with the emperor when he was a hostage. And then, years later, she would marry the duke. But after his departure, she married again, this time to the emperor, who had been her childhood love. All of that information caught Anna off guard. Could it be then that the prince's mother was who she thought she was? The empress was none other than the protagonist of the plot of the book she was reading. Anna is shocked upon discovering that. Had the author simply gone mad? The special menu of that day was hibiscus tea mixed with flowers and assorted fruits. Important note, that tea was the empress's favorite. Anna hears the empress, already quite bored, telling her son that it was a very long and complicated story, and that to tell it all, it would be necessary to write a book. The girl secretly knew that an entire book had already been written about that narrative. Our protagonist shivers, just thinking that more than 10 million copies had already been sold. Finally, she understands that the protagonist of the book was not the duke, but in fact the tyrant emperor. Picking up her cup, the empress asks Anna what her name is. A little embarrassed, Anna introduces herself while serving the noblewoman's tea. The empress praises her tea, saying that it was fantastic. Finally, she understood what Prince Adrian praised so much, until her son interrupts her. It was amusing how the prince seemed very embarrassed in front of his own mother. Trying to change the subject, Adrian asks his mother if she would not like to discuss some matter in private with him. Anna takes the opportunity to go to her quarters and continues reading her book. Flipping through the pages, she realizes that everything was just as the empress had described. In the story, the female protagonist ends up marrying the tyrant emperor again. Anna closes the book abruptly, still trying to process that information. After all, who would dare to write a book about the love affairs of the royal family? In the author's biography, there was no name or image, only a drawing of a strawberry juice. She then assumes that her mysterious friend might know something about that, since he was the heir to a large trading and import company. When she opens the drawer, Anna notices that the book was already glowing with the same strong golden light as always. She dips her elegant golden quill into the ink and asks whether her friend knew that famous book. Anna grows curious as she waits for the reply. The mysterious friend in the book asks if she is referring to a book that talked about a duke with a serious illness. She comments that, despite the strange title, that book was very famous in the capital. The correspondent reveals that he knew nothing about that. Anna was asking him who could have written something of that magnitude, and questioned whether he could imagine who might have written it. A little more relaxed, Anna decides not to ask anything else of her friend in the book, as he already had plenty to worry about. He seemed like a very kind man who was willing to help her. The next day, Anna wonders which tea would be perfect for that morning. The young woman rummages through her shelves and finds a special tea she thought had run out. Despite its subtle flavor, it was a tea too good to be wasted. Looking at the small basket on top of her table, she wonders if she should mix something else with the leaves. Anna thinks it is a good idea to toast some golden rice grains and perhaps mix them with a bit of green tea. And that way she would make a golden rice green tea. The young woman tastes the drink and realizes that the flavor is somehow familiar. In another life, in a universe where tea came in little bags, Anna has a very brief flashback of her past life. Our protagonist pauses for a few moments, reflecting in silence. She had really liked the drink, but now she was worried about whether the prince would appreciate the flavor. Anna then decides to stand firm in her choice, knowing that she had chosen something interesting for the prince. Besides, yesterday the head maid had gone to her room to inform her that the tea breaks would be maintained, but that now she should prepare 3 new types of tea blends every week. Orders from the Empress. Apparently the cunning Empress had liked Anna's tea very much, and Anna wondered what that could mean. If she were dismissed there, she could try to go straight to the imperial court. The butler informed Adrian, the prince, that green tea included toasted rice. The nobleman takes a sip of the drink. Adrian seemed to calmly enjoy the teas prepared by Anna. Then, Derek called him, interrupting his thoughts. A little hesitant, the young man says that he has been thinking a bit about your highness's secret crush. Those words surprise the prince, who ends up staining the magical book with ink. The young butler suggests that the nobleman give the young woman a very nice gift. Adrian feels a little apprehensive hearing the advice. Derek says that there is no mistake if it is something the girl likes a lot. The prince then suggests that he must be talking about tea leaves. The butler explains that for her, tea was a profession, not a hobby. Adrian wonders what else Anna liked. Derek confesses that he had spoken with the head maid, and the prince becomes curious to know what the woman had told him. The truth is that the thing Anna liked most was money. A lot of money, mountains of gold coins. Derek tells this with a huge smile on his face. In her quarters, Anna hears someone knocking on her door. The head maid looks at her with a somewhat suspicious gaze and tells her that Your Highness had sent a bonus especially for Anna, even though she thought it was an excessive amount for a maid. The woman hands her a heavy bag, revealing that the prince had also ensured that Anna could take generous vacations, and the head maid only asked that Anna inform her when. At that pace, Anna imagined that she could retire sooner than she had planned. The head maid walks away, wondering what on earth Anna had been mixing into those teas. Out of nowhere, Arthur runs past the head maid, who scolds him, saying that it was forbidden to run in the palace corridors. He suddenly enters Anna's quarters, calling her urgently. The blonde boy explains that the Empress had arrived without warning during the prince's lunch. However, this time, in addition to asking for teas, the Empress had brought with her husband, the prince consort named Owen. Adrian's noble father had insisted on tasting Anna's teas. That situation was beginning to make Anna very worried. The young woman wonders what the Empress's plans are and what the prince was thinking about all of that. Preparing tea in his room had been a bit strange. She checks the drink in the teapot and judges that that amount should be more than enough. The doors open in front of Anna, and the young woman wonders where that golden light comes from. At the table were seated Prince Adrian, his brother, Owen, wearing an elegant black and gold cloak, and the Empress, in impeccable white garments. At the moment Anna opened the doors, her gaze met the prince's, and the Empress promptly cast her a look. Owen, who was between the two, seemed like a different version of Adrian. Anna also thought that, if you plant beauty, beauty prospers. Anna timidly approaches the two nobles. The young woman seemed intimidated by their beauty. Owen gives her a sweet smile and gently asks Anna to prepare him a tea. She then serves hibiscus tea with some chocolate puddings. In addition, she leaves red fruits and honey available on the table. In this way, the flavor of the tea could be enhanced with the honey. Prince Owen says that the drink has a wonderful color. The Empress asks her to leave the teapot so they can continue serving themselves and comments that she would like her relatives to try it as well. Adrian gives a shy smile. The Empress tries to remember what she was talking about. And Owen, with a very spoiled boy manner, says that she was telling him about his father's marriage. The prince's grandfather, blinded by jealousy, stormed her wedding with the Duke. The Duke looks at his bride in confusion. No one expected the Emperor to appear. He began to reach for his sword. But before the man could do anything, the bride dashed forward. The woman courageously grabbed him by the shoulder and threw him to the ground with all her strength. However, thanks to that commotion, the bride remembered him. That man was the Emperor. He had been her great love from childhood. While they ate pie, Mrs. Constance asked Anna if she believed that the book was based on a real story. The woman looked at Anna somewhat skeptically. Anna asked her not to share that story with anyone. Laughing softly, Mrs. Constance asked the young woman who she would tell such a thing to. However, Arthur appeared out of nowhere, asking what they were talking about, and ended up startling Anna. The women offered pie to the boy, who was very curious to know what they were talking about. Anna tells Arthur that it was their secret. He becomes annoyed and wants to find out at all costs. Mrs. Constance watches the scene, letting out soft giggles, but there was something mysterious in her gaze. That same day, far from there, in a colorful field of tulips, the prince asks Derek if he thought Anna liked flowers. The butler, while trying to shoo away bees, thought so. Adrian seemed very distracted, thinking about gifts that might please Anna. Still trying to escape the bees, Derek asks the prince why he simply does not confess his feelings to Anna. Derek was already fed up with the bees and vainly tried to drive them away. The nobleman replies that he simply could not do that. What he truly desired was something much more special. In a flashback to his childhood, we see Adrian as a child, when his hair was still quite dark. Apparently, he was having tea in company. On a beautiful sunny day, Anna smiled happily at him, holding out her hand. He clearly remembers her telling him that when she opened her tea shop, she would invite him. Many years passed, and Adrian never forgot that promise. At a party in the palace, the prince noticed someone. He waited patiently for so long until, by coincidence, he reunited with Anna at the ball. To him, Anna had become even more beautiful. Her delicate face highlighted by green eyes and blonde hair. The prince blushed deeply just from seeing her there. Despite knowing each other so well, perhaps despite the years apart, Anna did not seem to have recognized Adrian. So, he accepted that his role would be to wait for Anna to choose him. Derek unfortunately lost his battle against the bees, but politely explains to the prince that if he courted Anna, she would probably accept his feelings. Adrian explains to the butler that if he courted Anna, that flirtation would be seen as an imperial order, since he was the prince. Anna, being the youngest daughter of Count Emmanuel, would be indirectly forced to accept him because of the kingdom's hierarchy. Derek listens to the prince's explanation, thinking about how much the nobleman complicated things for himself. The butler then suggests that the prince court her in private, but he also responds that it was a terrible idea. Adrian reminds the young man that he was the prince of the kingdom and had no obligations that bound him. If he courted Anna in secret, it could give the wrong impression, as if he did not honor her or even that she was his mistress. The prince did not want to hurt her in any way. Therefore, he wanted to be her husband, but he would do things properly. And thus, the two of them could be happy together. Derek realizes that the prince truly was in love with Anna and was already dreaming of their future wedding. The prince continues his explanation, saying that on top of everything, the young woman currently worked for him, and that he was responsible for her salary. Adrian truly did not want to take advantage of his position to win her over. But since that could still influence her, he intended to avoid any misunderstandings. Derek realizes that the prince wanted to win her heart through his honesty, so it was time for them to have a serious conversation. The butler approaches and explains to him that at that pace, he would not even be able to send out the wedding invitations. That statement surprises Adrian. The prince becomes a little hesitant and asks the young man what he means. Derek casts him a determined look. The young man then says that if none of the suggested options interested the prince, perhaps he was too hesitant to pursue her? The prince tries to explain, claiming that those methods were not appropriate for him. Derek, revealing himself to be a great romantic, tells him that if the prince did not act or speak to her, how could the young woman know his feelings? The prince says that the solution would be for Anna to come to him like a butterfly flying toward flowers. Derek falls silent after hearing that. Then the young man gently explains to the prince that not even flowers stay still waiting for butterflies. They absorb nutrients from the soil and become more colorful, in addition to releasing the sweet aroma that attracts them. After hearing that, Adrian becomes thoughtful as he observes a delicate butterfly on a tulip. Derek then suggests that the prince try to be like the flowers that release a sweet aroma that attracts butterflies. And then, as if it were destiny, Adrian spots Anna walking through the garden with Arthur. The little boy insists that she tell him what she was talking about with Mrs. Constance, but Anna only says that she will not reveal anything at that moment. The beautiful protagonist smiles as delicate butterflies fly around her. At that moment, Adrian wishes more than ever to be a tulip that would bring her closer to him. However, far from there, in a secret room, someone seems to be watching them. A man with long blonde hair comments that this was not part of his plans. He smiles, thinking that perhaps he should give things a little push to speed them up. That day would be the first time Anna would bring tea to the prince's study. Moments earlier, Arthur had asked her to take it there instead of to the royal office. Anna enters, pushing her tea cart. Seated in an armchair, the prince was reading with great concentration. Anna sees that he is reading the controversial book that her sister had lent her. Sometime earlier, Derek had suggested that the prince reduce the emotional distance with Anna by keeping the conversation light and interesting. Adrian feels insecure and asks the butler whether he thinks she feels uneasy around him. Derek tries to smooth things over. The butler tells him that the book he had been reading last time would be great to start a conversation. Because of that, the prince continues his reading while Anna serves the afternoon tea. The two exchange glances and our protagonist seems quite curious. Then, Anna approaches him. Finally, she realizes that Prince Adrian is very similar to her childhood friend. The prince's gaze is the same as when he was a child. Surprised by the memories of the past, Anna apologizes to him and quickly steps away. Before she can leave, her little shoe catches on the carpet and she starts to fall. Anna feels her body going backward. Quickly, the prince tries to reach her, and he grabs her even as she falls and hurts herself. And then, the two realize that they are very close to each other. Adrian, although embarrassed by that closeness, asks if Anna is all right. Fortunately, the young woman answers that she is. She also seems a little embarrassed, her cheek slightly blushing. Sometime later, Anna is in the tea room, organizing a few things. She wonders why the prince looks so much like that friend from her past. She becomes thoughtful for a few moments, but decides to let it go. And then she is taken by surprise by Madeleine, another maid, who asks if she is busy. Madeleine was the maid exclusively responsible for the prince consort. That was good, because Adrian could not dismiss her. Our protagonist is very happy to finally have another friend in the palace. She hands Madeleine her sister's red book. Anna still remembers that in that story, the Duke agreed to divorce his wife. Thus, she receives the rings back, and he retreats to his duchy to live in solitude. In this way, the protagonist of the book can finally marry the emperor, who was her true love. And their love story ends on the wedding night. Madeleine is enchanted by the story. She is happy that the woman managed to be with her true love. It seemed like something that only existed in books. The young woman hands Anna a green book, recommending that her friend read it. Noticing how the tea room was crowded with flowers and jars of dried leaves, Anna wonders where she could store it. Her friend asks if her cabinet is already full. Anna explains that new leaves arrive all the time, but the old ones are too good to be thrown away. Madeleine suggests that she send them to the Palace of Roses. Our protagonist asks if that is really necessary. Does the prince consort drink that much tea? Madeleine asks Anna if she did not know. The young woman reaches out to get something from the shelf while explaining to our protagonist that the old leaves are used to make potpourri or ground up to make facial masks. In addition, it had appeared in the Empire's newspapers that the prince consort recommended more than 100 uses for all types of tea leaves. Anna did not read newspapers very much. The two agree that Madeleine will return the next day to collect the old leaves to take them to the Palace of Roses. During the afternoon, while Anna makes her work notes, she needs to report to the head maid the inventory of how many teas are still in stock. Anna sees a box with elegant golden ornaments and wonders what leaves those might be. She had never seen anything like them. When she opens the box, she sees several tins with very elegant varieties of tea. However, there was no indication of origin or the name of whoever prepared them. Holding some leaves in her hands, Anna realizes that they were far more aromatic than the ones she had. Where could they have come from? At night, in Anna's quarters. Lying in her bed, our protagonist was very tired and feeling grateful for yet another day in which she had not been dismissed. She remembers the prince holding her by the arms to keep her from falling. Shaking her head from side to side, Anna wonders why she insists on thinking about the prince. That needed to stop right away. Suddenly, her magical book lights up with a golden glow. Anna's mysterious friend wants to talk to her. Anna happily asks what he has been thinking about. And then, suddenly, the young woman is shocked. The book reveals to her that her friend was in love with his subordinate. On the other side, it was the prince. He was trying to ask Anna for advice, as if he were dropping hints to her. The young woman was rooting for a romance that she did not even know she was part of. The prince reads Anna, writing that she considered him caring, as he seemed like someone who paid attention to small details. In addition, he was very good at giving advice. He writes that, thanks to her generous words, he feels much more confident now. They decide to stop there, and both go to rest. Anna returns to her bed, thinking about the fact that her mysterious friend had found someone special for him. The next day, Anna goes to the Great Hall to bring tea to the prince. Despite being very focused on her work, serving milk and fine cookies, she remembers having avoided sharing some feelings with her mysterious friend. Besides the cookies, she places fine chocolates on the table. Next, she serves cold milk and a chocolate drink with marshmallows. Anna looked tired after having slept little. She reflects on whether it was a good thing to have made her friend more confident. Was he planning to confess to that girl that day? As she adds more milk to the drink, Anna wonders what kind of person that girl was. For her friend to like her, she must be someone very nice. Prince Adrian watches Anna clean a cup with some concern, as she seems to be completely distracted that day. Anna seems a little upset. Or was it jealousy? Mentally, the young woman wonders whether her mysterious friend's eyes were blue like the prince's or green like hers. Prince Adrian stares directly at the cup in front of him. However, before he can take it, Anna grabs his cup. On impulse, the young woman drinks the chocolate beverage because she knew that when she was like that, only sweets helped her feel better. The prince looks at Anna in astonishment as she drinks the entire cup of chocolate drink. The girl drinks with such enthusiasm that she even ends up with a little chocolate mustache. Moments later, Anna finally realizes what she has just done and thinks she is in trouble. The nobleman subtly gives a smile. He begins to gently clean her face. He asks the girl for permission, explaining that he needs to return to some royal duties and turns to leave. Leaving the room, he keeps smiling, hiding his flushed face with his hands. Still inside the chambers, Anna sits on the floor, feeling defeated. Anna wonders if she is going crazy. How could she have drunk all of the prince's tea? Far from there, in the prince's quarters, other palace maids were arranging his clothes. While one of them arranges an elegant white coat, another maid asks out of curiosity what Prince Adrian would wear to the spring ball. One of the girls explains that the prince used the same design year after year, and the royal tailor only adjusted the size. Suddenly, a maid arrives shouting about how envious she felt of the maids of Owen, the prince consort. The other girls fall silent, not knowing how to respond appropriately. Year after year, the red-haired young woman always tried to convince Prince Adrian to change the design. And to make matters worse, her father always bragged about the elegant uniforms of Prince Owen. Her father, named Laurel, always sewed extravagant and very refined clothes for Owen, further enhancing the prince's noble and delicate appearance. With fire in her eyes, the girl was determined to convince Adrian to change his clothes that year. She did not want to lose to the maids of the Palace of Roses. One of the girls asks her what they would gain from that. The redhead asks if her friend had not seen last week's newspapers about the Palace of Roses. Everyone was talking about Prince Owen's outfit that season, like a classic beauty. Unlike the prince consort, Adrian had a much more practical and minimalist look. The other maids tried in vain to console their friend. Prince Adrian, the night before, had chosen a simple white uniform without many details. But the truth is that he had looked spectacular in traditional garments from the southern region of the kingdom. Very bold. The red-haired young woman was devastated that year apparently, the prince would continue with his usual white uniform. One of the girls asked whether she should go to the Palace of Roses and borrow some of Prince Owen's uniforms. The redhead asks her friend to be more sensible. Those uniforms were tailor-made and would not fit Adrian. The two princes were completely opposite. While Owen was delicate like a rose, Adrian was simply... At that very moment, Prince Adrian enters the room. He asks the girls what he was then. He stares at the maids in silence. All of them were very surprised. Adrian gently asks them not to compare him to a flower. The red-haired maid tries to fix the situation, but out of sheer desperation, she says that he had already been born a flower. Adrian looks very uncomfortable with the comment. He listens in shock as the maid tells him that he could bloom even more. Adrian seems to see a unique opportunity at that moment, especially after talking with Derek in the garden. He says that he is willing to change and asks the girl what he should do. The red-haired maid asks him to wait for a moment, as her friends were still very shaken by the surprise. A short time later, the maids return carrying piles and piles of books. Adrian asks them what all of that is. The young woman reveals that they are famous designs, with several elegant sketches of uniform models for him. The designers would drop all of their commitments to attend Prince Adrian. The nobleman then orders the maid to choose someone special and ask the professional to go to the palace to take measurements. She takes the opportunity to show him a sample of moss green silk directly from the western region of the kingdom. Very much in love, Adrian notices that the shade of green reminds him strongly of the color of Anna's eyes. and then he decides to choose that color. In another part of the palace, in the prince consort's chamber, he was trying on clothes with the help of Laurel, the father of one of Adrian's maids. The blonde man confides to Owen that his daughter Jane had told him that his son was interested in choosing a new outfit for the ball. Owen lets out a discreet laugh, thinking that the day had finally come. Then the prince consort tells Laurel that they should stay very alert. Owen gives a mysterious smile, his face partially hidden by his silvery hair. He remembers a dark period, when he had kept Laurel imprisoned in a dungeon. Unlike his usual self, the prince displays a cold and calculating gaze. Laurel was blindfolded and shirtless, receiving physical punishment from the guards. The man was under the control of powerful magic. Owen asks a knight if he could open the cell door for a few moments. The guard does not quite understand the request, but agrees nonetheless. A light breeze carries fragments of magic toward Laurel. With magical power shining from his hands, the prince consort unties the blindfold of the captured man. Owen smiles at him, magic glowing around the prince consort. He kneels before the man, greeting him but does not untie the ropes. Finally, he invites him to come and see the Palace of Roses. At the ball, all the women whisper as they see Owen enter. Everyone there is enchanted by the prince consort's attire. At his side, Laurel faithfully accompanies him. The Empress watches them, seated on her throne. She thanks Laurel, saying that thanks to him, the prince looked very elegant. Laurel becomes embarrassed and says that for him it is an honor. Jane, the maid, riding an elegant horse, gallops vigorously through the city. She stops in front of the door of a famous tailoring atelier, asking if anyone is there. A tired-looking man informs her that they are closed and, moreover, that their schedule is full. Jane wedges the door with her boot, informing him that she had been sent by the royal palace, and asks whether the designer could go to the palace that afternoon. The young woman throws the door wide open, startling the tired man. He is surprised to learn that she has come from the palace. He leads her to see the atelier, which has many refined garments and formal designs. He kindly asks her to sit on the sofa and wait for a few moments. Phew. In the sewing room, he calls for the designer, Mrs. Petra, who is sewing a delicate blue fabric. The red-haired woman asks him not to interrupt her work. The man explains to her that the palace had personally sent a young woman to summon her. She replies that they just wanted her to take some measurements and create anything for them. The designer refuses to create a perfect design without seeing the prince personally. The man tries to convince her that this time it would be different. Upon hearing that a maid had personally gone to ask the designer to come to the palace, the woman stands up quickly. She carries piles of fabrics, thinking that if that were true, she would be the first designer to be summoned by the prince. Jane watches the designer approach wearing an elegant green uniform, similar to the one she had been looking at in the book. With a determined look, the young woman points out the details requested by the prince in the design. The designer shows the young woman that the golden details had already been sewn in. Wow, Prince Adrian would truly look very handsome in the green uniform. The designer commands her workers to take all the fabrics and sewing materials to the carriage. She quickly departs toward the palace. In the prince's study, everyone is talking about possible uniform options that His Highness could wear. To them, a purple uniform would highlight his silvery hair and light eyes very well. However, a navy blue outfit would also suit his delicate features, but an off-white uniform option would further enhance his beauty as well. Everyone is impressed by how good the prince looks in various colors. As evening falls, Anna chooses a strawberry jam that looks very delicious to accompany a tea. Our protagonist seems very apprehensive, despite serving him every day. Suddenly, she drops the golden spoon. Adrian approaches her, asking if the young woman is all right. Anna, still a little startled, says yes, and thanks him for his concern. The girl notices that the prince has been walking differently lately. She realizes that he has been more radiant recently. Even his hair seems shinier. Anna wonders, could he be in love? Could her friend from the diary have confessed his feelings? While Anna is lost in her thoughts, Prince Adrian looks at her with a worried expression, wondering if she is still feeling unwell. He asks her if she still has a little time for a break. The young woman says yes. The prince then suggests that Anna take a day off. Our protagonist prepares for a well-deserved break, and her palace friends suggest that she go visit a restaurant near the palace. One of them reveals that the place serves only one type of dish, but it is very good. While carrying some teas, Anna promises her friends that she will try to visit the places they recommended. Would it be possible to visit everything in one day? The girl chooses a beautiful green dress that matches her eyes very well. Now yes, Anna is ready for a stroll through the city. However, before she leaves, she notices that her magical book is glowing. Anna wonders if she should take it with her. Since there would be no problem, she decides to take the book along with her. It was a beautiful day in the capital, with a very blue sky and people strolling through the square. Looking at her list, she sees that she would have to stop by the Omelette House first, then the Roy Tea House. Upon arriving at the first place, she asks for a table for one. Anna is very happy because she gets a lovely table by the window. The omelet they serve at the restaurant is perfectly creamy, made with fresh eggs from a farm near the capital. After tasting the omelet, Anna understands that even though it is just one dish, it is a delicious meal. She needs to tell her mysterious friend immediately. She begins to write, asking if he has ever tasted something like that. Now walking down the street, Anna takes out the list and checks which place she needs to go to next. And then she comes across the Roy Tea House, the largest tea house she has ever seen in the city. Upon entering, she notices that the place is really quite crowded. She cannot hide her astonishment upon discovering that they serve only 3 types of tea and do not even say who their suppliers are or the flavor levels. At least the cups are cute. Anna notices that the flavor is very weak compared to the teas she prepares. She writes in the magical book that that tea house is a huge disappointment. Back at the palace, another maid serves tea to the prince. The young woman explains that that tea is a premium blend of dehydrated fruits and rosemary. The prince asks her where it comes from. A little hesitant, the girl replies that it was a gift from Duke Rosewood. With a serious expression, Adrian says that he does not remember having accepted any gift from Duke Ross. Probably that blend was made by the Duke's eldest niece. So perhaps that gift had been sent to gain royal favors. Or it could even be part of a strategy to harm the prince. Derek informs him that he will take care of that situation while a knight ties the young woman's hands. Meanwhile, in the city, Anna strolls among the vendors' stalls and distractedly looks at a handkerchief. The vendor tells her that the color of the handkerchief matches her eyes perfectly. Anna feels a little embarrassed as she hears the woman insist that she buy it, since it matches her green eyes so well. She decides to buy it and kindly asks the vendor to wrap it as a gift. Finally, Anna needed to visit one last place called Hoist Coffee, and the funny thing was that her friends had told her that the staff there were quite handsome. Anna walks toward the place. When she arrives, she opens a door with a little bell, and then she sees before her a handsome young man with brown hair and eyes. The girls around him seemed enchanted by his beauty. However, secretly, Anna thought the young man looked like a potato, since she was used to dealing with Prince Adrian's beauty every day. She pours herself a cup of tea and apparently it was not good at all. Anna opens the book to see if her friend had replied and is surprised by a very strange message. Her friend mentioned a mysterious creature that she had drawn, but she did not remember doing that. That was when Anna realized that she had tried to draw the omelet in the magical book. The mysterious friend continues his message, saying that the scribbles that followed reminded him of something he had seen in the ancient scrolls of the kingdom. Anna laughed to herself, remembering that it was the cake and tea she had eaten earlier that day. She asks him not to mock her sketches, as she had drawn them during moments of boredom. Then, a thought arises in her mind. Would her mysterious friend accept the handkerchief as a gift? Anna asks him hopefully if they could meet that very day. She would really like to give him a gift. She feels a little discouraged when she reads him saying that one of the reasons that had brought them closer was the fact that they never met. Could it be that her mysterious friend was so tired of living such a hectic life that he found comfort in the words of an anonymous friend? She was afraid of ruining what the two of them had, but she still wanted very much to meet him at least once. The mysterious friend asks where she is now, and the young woman replies that she is near the royal palace, in a large square with a fountain in the center. And then, her friend draws a small map in the book. Anna is shocked, because it is exactly the map of where she is. The mysterious friend says that if she goes to the marked place, she will find a small door, and near the lock, she will find a slightly loose brick. If she presses that brick lightly 3 times and waits a bit, she can press it 2 more times and the door will open. What could be behind that secret door? Sometime later, Anna finally arrives at the passage her friend had described. He also instructed her that when she sees the 5 lion heads, she should press the second from the left 3 times, and after waiting a bit, press 2 more times and the door panel would open. She did not need to worry, as the door panel locked automatically. Anna then wonders if she should just leave the gift there and go away. She really would like very much to meet him. She quickly presses the lion heads, and a small compartment opens in the door. Anna carefully places the small gift in the compartment, and it locks immediately afterward. The young woman watches the door for a few moments, and tries to open it again by pressing the lion heads. The mechanism really did lock itself. She thinks about how a trading and import company could have a secret door in the middle of the city. Perhaps the company was much bigger than she imagined. Maybe because of that, her friend was always so exhausted by people. Not seeing each other does not mean they cannot be friends. Anna walks happily, wondering what he might be doing now. Derek asks the prince what he is doing. He simply replies that he is talking to a friend. The young butler wonders if His Highness is making friends with a diary. Could it be some kind of imaginary friend? Derek encourages the prince, despite fearing that the nobleman might be a little mad. The prince does not understand the reason for his attitude. Suddenly, interrupting their conversation, the two men hear a loud noise echoing through the palace. Adrian and Derek dash through the corridors. The butler hopes it is not them acting again, but the prince is almost certain that it is. In the city, Anna wants to enjoy the sunny day to walk around a bit more. And then, a wind begins to carry her hat away. Frustrated, she turns around as she does not want to lose the accessory. The delicate hat floats in the breeze, and then falls to the ground shortly after. Anna picks up the hat and gives it a few pats to remove the dust. Besides, it was brand new and she did not want to dirty it. After a few moments, Anna notices where she is. A large door with a familiar name that catches her attention. That was the shop where she had received her magical diary. Out of nowhere, the doors open in front of the girl. Were they inviting her to enter? Our protagonist steps into the shop and a familiar voice says, "We meet again, Anna." That was Noah, the same shopkeeper as last time. He walks over to her, carrying 2 mugs of tea. Remembering the prince's sudden change in demeanor, Anna tells him that work had been demanding. But thinking about it more carefully, she was doing much better than she had thought. She tells Noah that she has been using the diary a lot. The blonde-haired man is happy to hear that, as he had put a lot of effort into making it. Anna reveals to him that at first she thought it was just an ordinary diary. But shortly afterward, she discovered that it was a magical book through which she exchanged written messages. The girl even reveals to him that she has been sharing confidences with a mysterious friend who apparently had the same magical book. Through the pages of the diary, the two of them were able to communicate clearly. Noah confesses to her that he had not included any communication feature in the book. Anna is shocked by that information. He also comments that she had been the only person to receive one of those books recently. After hearing that, Anna falls silent, not quite knowing how to respond. Could it be that her mysterious friend, who was also her crush, was merely some trick of Noah's magic? She listens in astonishment as the young man explains to her that it was not a magical book, but a diary of luck. Anna is stunned, imagining that all those conversations were a lie. He laughs, explaining that he did not know how that diary would bring luck, as it depended greatly on who its owners were. He believes that for her, the magic manifested as a channel of communication. Noah hands her a handkerchief for her to wipe her face. Noah's words and kindness remind her very much of her conversations with the prince. Why did she suddenly keep thinking about him? Continuing the conversation, Noah also says that he does not remember the last time he sold a book like that. Noah reveals that the last time he sold a book like that was 150 years ago. Anna is startled by that information and asks him how old he is. Noah gives a little chuckle and says it is a secret. He asks if she would like to see some new items that had arrived at the shop. Anna remembers how he had always been mysterious from the very beginning. A long time ago, Anna was with her sister, while she rudely asked how someone so clueless like her could have gotten a job at the palace. The family cockatiel repeated several random phrases as if it were worried about Anna. The truth was that Anna could no longer stand that bird tormenting her all day long. The city was all decorated with little flags, and the day was sunny and beautiful. People walked calmly through the capital. Anna looked at a crystal ball, telling her sister how cool it was. Anna's sister looked impatiently around, wondering what there could be there that might be useful for her younger sister. Anna first picked up a goblet with a strange expression, then an elegant green patterned vase. While walking through the city, Anna noticed a sign that caught her attention. She entered the shop and noticed that the place looked like a cabinet of curiosities. And then one of the books on the table caught her attention. A friendly shopkeeper welcomed her, and Anna complimented the cover design, saying it was very beautiful. The young man froze for a few moments upon hearing her ask questions about the book. He approaches her, a little suspicious. Noah asks Anna if she liked the book. She does not quite understand the question. Picking up the book, he explains to her that it was a diary of luck, and if she wanted, she could take it for free. Anna is a little surprised and offers to pay for the book, but Noah refuses the payment and asks her to accept the book as a gift. With a beautiful smile, he says that they will see each other again very soon. Anna is still thoughtful when her sister rudely enters the establishment, claiming that she had been looking for her for a long time. The older sister asks if she was buying oddities again. What was that strange book she had? Anna says it was a diary with a beautiful ship drawn on the cover. Anna's sister ignores the detail and asks that they leave talking about it for when they get home. Noah looks at her with antipathy. Anna thanks Noah for his kindness, while her sister leaves a little embarrassed, as she had not noticed the shopkeeper's presence there. With a slight wave of his hand, Noah says goodbye to Anna. Anna tells him that she will return soon. However, she does not remember having told him her name. He waves to her, wishing that they will see each other again soon. Back to the present moment, Noah shows her some items on the shop's shelves. What Anna really wanted was to leave that place as quickly as possible, until she spotted something. A tea mascot? It had been a long time since she had seen something like that. Then, Noah offers to show her something interesting and pours a little tea onto the object. The little bird begins to glow with a white light. The two of them look at the ceramic bird that had just come to life. Anna laughs, asking Noah how he had done that. He explains that he knows how to cast a few spells. She is astonished to discover that. Could he be some kind of mage? Wasn't it a problem for him to be sharing that with her? A bit hesitant, our protagonist asks him where he had learned to use magic. And then he answers with a question. Where did she think he had learned all of that? Noah snaps his fingers and a familiar golden glow begins to shine around him. Suddenly, several pieces of a chair begin to float around them, and he invites her to sit for a bit so they can talk. Right in front of them, a chair is assembled by magic. He explains that he assumed she must be curious about magic, since in that world it was not something common. Anna asks if he came from another planet. Noah confesses that he did, and Anna asks if he could really be telling her all of that so openly. He says that he trusts her completely. Anna feels grateful for the trust, but what could she have done to deserve so much? And then he reveals to her that she was not very different from him. Anna tries to explain, saying that she was not a sorceress. Using magic, Noah manipulates a few cups to serve more tea for Anna. He tells the girl that she is safe there with him. Our protagonist decides to ask how he knew that she came from another world. He sits down and explains to her that, with the age he had, it was easy for him to notice certain details. Anna asks curiously how he could know so much about the Earth. The girl also asks him if the name of the shop was inspired by Noah's Ark. The young man explains to her that many years ago, he had a friend on Earth, and that the shop was named that way because of her. Anna is curious to meet her, but Noah reveals that unfortunately his friend was no longer among them. Despite giving sad news, Noah maintains a serene expression and smiles at her. Our protagonist seems a little unsettled by his calm demeanor. Right after that, he begins to tell her the story of how he met his friend a long time ago. She had lived a good life and passed away many years ago. She thinks that makes a lot of sense, especially after he revealed to her that he was more than 150 years old. Noah tells her that as soon as his friend learned his name, she insisted that the shop be called Noah's Ark. And he says that the magical diary was her idea as well. Back then, the two of them had a lot of fun. The magic they put into the book was pure chance, an innovative concept. The young man also confesses to Anna that only 2 copies were produced, and since she owns one of them, only the other remains. Anna wonders if she might be talking to someone who lived centuries before her. Noah explains that the diary would not have enough magic to accomplish that. Possibly the book had passed through several owners over the centuries. Despite this, Noah thinks he has a slight idea of who might have the second copy. Anna eagerly asks, who could be the current owner? Would she be able to find out where her mysterious friend lives? Noah replies that he cannot provide confidential information about his clients, and our protagonist is disappointed to hear that, even pouting a little. He approaches her, offering to teach her something new. The young man asks if Anna is curious to know more about the outsiders. A bit hesitant, she asks if there were more people like her, coming from another world. Noah replies that anyone who fell into that world from another place was a type of outsider. Noah explains that they arrived there in various ways. Anna listens carefully while he manipulates tea with his magic. He explains to her that when only the soul crosses worlds and inhabits a body, that is possession. If the individual is reborn in a new body, that is reincarnation. Now, sometimes it also happens that both body and soul manage to cross together, which constitutes dimensional travel. Anna then tells him that she was a reincarnation. What about Noah? He reveals to her that he arrived in that world through dimensional travel. She asks him if he had ever wanted to go back, and the man falls silent for a few moments. Chuckling softly, Noah confides to her that he would return to his world that very instant if he could. Not everything in that dimension pleased him. Noah reveals that he had been conducting some experiments with magic at home and accidentally ended up there. Despite seeing that the experiment was starting to lose control, that kind of consequence was unexpected. However, despite his efforts, he was unable to interrupt the magic and his magical equipment. Anna then assumes that because of that incident, he was prevented from returning. Despite being very skilled with magic, Noah tells her that he never managed to recreate his path back home. While delicate golden birds fly around the shop, he also tells Anna that, on top of that, a great deal of time had already passed. Because of that, he decided to open the shop so that he could make a living from it. Anna asks Noah if the shop constantly changed location because it was a magical place. He agrees, explaining to the young woman that if he stayed too long in one place, he could be discovered. Anna asks who could discover him. Noah pauses for a moment. With a smile on his face, he explains that he had been rather playful with magic, and because of that, the Imperial Guards were after him. Because of this, he needed to constantly move the shop to different places. He shows her a door at the back of the shop, through which she could access her room in the palace. Far away, a heavy rain was falling. Derek asks Prince Adrian what that could be. In the palace garden, the two men observe a large crater. Not even the guards dared to approach it. Derek thought that the intruder should still be on the palace grounds. The figure, hidden by the rain and the trees, reaches a secret door. Crossing through the door, the mysterious person disappears into the shadows. Returning to the garden courtyard, Derek orders the guards to search every corner. The intruders could not have gone very far. The butler informs the prince that the cracks in the ground are getting worse. With a worried look, Adrian orders Derek to call him as soon as they find whoever caused that. At the end of the afternoon, the sky was a beautiful shade of orange. In her room, Anna was already lying on the bed, exhausted after a long day of walking around. And then, her magical book began to glow. Her mysterious friend thanked her for the gift and said that the embroidery on the handkerchief was very exquisite. Anna comments that the mechanisms of the door were fascinating and made her curious. Despite her tiredness, she was happy to talk to her friend. However, our protagonist realizes that she forgot to prepare the tea. Anna walks through the palace corridors. She sees a door ajar, and just ahead, Mrs. Constance seemed to be distracted with her household tasks. The girl enters the kitchen, greeting the cook, but Mrs. Constance seems very startled by her arrival. Anna asks what the lady was doing there so late. She explains that she was organizing the meals for the next day, and also asks Anna what she was doing there. Suddenly, Mrs. Constance asks Anna to hurry. Anna then notices that her colleague's apron is dirty with soil. The girl crouches down and gives it a few pats to try to lessen the stain. Mrs. Constance claims that the dirt was because she had to run to the garden to gather some herbs that would go into a lamb stew. Anna gets excited and asks if she and Arthur could taste it tomorrow, but Mrs. Constance rudely replies that they cannot. Anna tries to apologize, saying that she understands that the meal would be exclusively for the prince. Mrs. Constance seems very apprehensive. The lady explains that there were not enough herbs to prepare a larger meal, so next time she would make it up to Anna and Arthur. Without the girl realizing it, the cook is pushing her toward the exit. While touching Anna's shoulder, Mrs. Constance says that tomorrow she will bring some chocolates for her. And since it was late, it would be better for the young woman to go to sleep. Anna says goodbye to Mrs. Constance, still confused by the woman's behavior. The cook watches the girl leave. There was something very wrong with her. The next day, in the prince's study, Anna brings tea to His Highness. Adrian asks if Anna had a good day of rest yesterday. The girl replies that she did, thanks to his generosity. Anna then notices that the prince is reading the same red book that her sister had lent her. Despite trembling, Anna serves a delicate tea, followed by an orange cake. That book seemed like a pile of confessions that the royal family should not see. Anna stares at the prince with suspicion. Adrian picks up the book and begins to say something, but is interrupted. Derek and his mother enter the study. The butler could barely keep up with the queen's steps. The empress is very happy to see her son, inviting him to have breakfast. In the great dining hall, illuminated by a golden chandelier, Anna pushes the tea cart toward the empress and the prince. The noblewoman asks her son how the visit to his grandmother had been. Adrian, with a distracted look, says that his grandmother had once again reminded him of how she attacked his grandfather during her wedding to Duke Rosewood. The Empress reminds him that his grandmother had always been proficient in combat from a very young age. She had even traveled throughout the eastern region of the kingdom to train in martial arts. Anna begins to tremble, remembering how all of that had been told in the book. Continuing the conversation, the Empress tells her son that he should read his grandmother's autobiography, as she mentions the incident in greater detail. The prince asks his mother what the name of the book is, and she promptly answers with a long title, exactly identical to the one Adrian was reading. Anna freezes when she realizes that Adrian's grandmother had written that book. So, would his grandmother be the artist who called herself Strawberry Milk? Sometime later, Anna was still quite shocked, and her friend Madeline was reading the book mentioned by the Empress. The girl asks if Anna is all right. She looked petrified. She was very excited that the protagonist of the book would eventually end up with the Duke. How could he be so charming? Madeline was enchanted by the mysterious author Strawberry Milk. Anna then invites her friend to leave the place. She knows that if they stayed any longer, she might end up revealing that the tyrant emperor was the true protagonist of the book. Our protagonist then suggests that the two of them enjoy the afternoon by going to a cafe nearby. Suddenly, they come across Arthur, fallen in the corridor amid a pile of papers. Anna approaches, apologizing and asking if he is all right. She asks the boy if he was trying to carry all those papers by himself. He explains that everyone was busy, so he had to manage on his own. With a smile, Anna offers to help him. The girls help the boy carry the papers to the palace library. Arthur explains that he needed to organize all those books, and Anna volunteers to arrange the books that would go on the other side. Anna cheerfully says that he could make it up to her with a good dessert, but the boy just laughs. Anna carefully places the books on the shelves, which already seemed far too full. Suddenly, a heavy book falls beside her. She picks up the book and, noticing that it is very dusty, tries to clean it to see what it is about. As she flips through the pages, Anna also sees that the letters are very faded, making them hard to read. Out of pure curiosity, Anna continues reading the pages, trying to understand what is written in them. Apparently, the Order of Knights had a role beyond the ceremonial. Something leaves the girl terrified. A shadowy figure speaks about tracking outsiders in order to capture and annihilate them. In the sumptuous room, the prince and his mother drink tea and converse. The Empress comments that Anna's tea is always excellent. Changing the subject, Adrian tries to bring up the incident from yesterday, and she asks if it is really what he suspects. He had a suspicion in mind, a man we do not yet know. Adrian reinforces his suspicions about him, as it seemed like something an outsider would do. Anna wonders what that ominous figure in the book could be. Arthur calls her attention, catching our protagonist by surprise. Anna seemed very on edge after leafing through those pages. She quickly returns the book to the shelves. With a big smile, Arthur invites the young woman to wrap things up there and go eat a dessert. Anna accepts, but she is still a bit shaken by the shocking illustration. She thinks that if she does not react to that, Noah and she might be in danger. Just thinking about it makes her feel chills. Arthur calls her name several times. In the servants' kitchen, Arthur asks Anna why she seems so worried. Mrs. Constance approaches and touches the girl's forehead, trying to see if she has a fever or something like that. Anna replies that she is not sick. Arthur hopes that her worry is not because of him. Anna explains that it is not, saying that she has something on her mind. The boy asks what could be worrying her so much, but the protagonist feels a bit awkward and tries to change the subject. Mrs. Constance, with a more welcoming manner, holds Anna's hands, encouraging her to share her feelings so that she might feel better. The lady says that she does not need to say anything under pressure, and that her friends would be there for her. Anna tells them that she found some mysterious tea leaves in the storage room, and that was what was on her mind. Despite liking them very much, Anna could never tell them about her situation, nor about what she found in the book. Mrs. Constance suggests that she ask the headmaid about what it was. Arthur says that she knew everything. To Anna, the headmaid was a very serious and suspicious lady. Just thinking about going to talk to her made the girl even more nervous. She knew that asking about the tea leaves would attract more trouble. Suddenly, Arthur spots the headmaid walking down the corridor. He rushes after her, calling out to her. Before he can say anything, Anna covers his mouth and asks him to stay quiet. The headmaid coldly asks Anna if she would like to discuss any matter with her. Then, Anna tells the truth, as she had found some mysterious tea tins in the storage room and did not know the origin of those leaves. Anna explains that she was unsure whether she could use them, as there were no labels or tags indicating the manufacturers, nor even where that tea came from or was produced. The head maid asks if the tins had lions with wings painted on them, like some kind of emblem. The lady explains to the two of them that it was a royal emblem. Anna asks her if the palace cultivated its own tea. The woman explains that there was a small tea herb garden behind the emperor's palace. Our protagonist listens in astonishment as the woman explains that the production was so low that it rarely ever left the palace. The head maid asks to excuse herself and leave them, and the two remain silent in the corridor. Sometime later, Anna was very happy with a slice of dessert at the tip of her fork. After returning to the kitchen, she keeps thinking that to stay out of trouble, she should remain cautious and not reveal to anyone that she was an outsider. The next day, as usual, she goes to take tea to Prince Adrian. The nobleman is busy reading several papers. Anna notices that his style had changed a little some time ago, seeing both the maid Jane and the designer working incessantly. Whether sewing clothes, taking measurements, adjusting things here and there, who was really responsible for the change in the prince? Anna serves a delicious green tea grown in the royal garden, and it was less bitter than the others. Adrian tells her that they had always enjoyed that tea very much during that same period every year, but this time it was very special. What could be the secret? Anna reveals that she had prepared the infusion with toasted green tea flowers, as that reduced the bitterness and made the tea smoother. The prince finds Anna's techniques impressive. She humbly thanks him. He also asks whether she always uses the hourglass to infuse the teas. Had she invented that method? Anna thinks that pocket watches would be easier to carry. However, they were much more expensive. Adrian states that then the secret lay in the hourglass. Now our protagonist is determined to have a large clock when she has her own tea shop. The nobleman notices that Anna has been looking quite a lot at his pocket watch. He asks if she also used the hourglass on the day of the hibiscus tea. And he continues with more and more questions, wanting to know if Anna changes the time according to the type of tea. Would the infusion time drastically change the flavor of the drink? She realizes how curious he is that day. Back in the storage room, indeed, His Highness seemed like a very curious child when he bombarded her with questions. She lets out a little laugh while putting away her tea things. Anna notices that the Empress and the Prince Consort never bombard her with questions. Could it be that he had a temperament similar to his grandmother's? Or could it be that his grandfather, the former emperor, was the one who asked a lot of questions? While putting away the cups, Anna realizes that we cannot escape our genes. However, she pauses for a moment and notices that the Empress had black hair. The Prince Consort had light hair. So logically, their son would have grayish hair? But that did not seem to make much sense, because Adrian had silvery hair like his father. And not even his grandparents had silvery hair. So could Owen's silver hair gene be more dominant? Arthur announces that the prince is about to receive a guest. Anna becomes a little worried at that. She asks the boy how many people were coming, but he replies that it was only one person. Anna continues pushing her cart through the corridors. She wonders if those maids would belong to the guest. The door opens, revealing a young woman with grayish hair and a long blue dress. The girl turns to her, as if recognizing her, and looks at Anna, wondering if it was really her. Our protagonist and the mysterious young woman remain silent for a few moments. Then, the young woman asks Anna if she was now working as a maid at the royal palace. Our protagonist says that it is quite demanding work, but she has been doing her best. The blue-haired woman replies that Anna is up to the task. She also tells her that Anna's older sister is always weaving praises about her tea, boasting that she went an entire year without catching a cold, among other things. The young woman was called Fabia, the eldest heir of the Rosewood family. In addition to being an exceptional knight, she received the title of Duchess of the Roses at a very young age. Anna never imagined that someone as noble as Fabia would remember her. Our protagonist served several very refined savory appetizers, all of them accompanied by a rich red fruit tea. Fabia praised the tea, commenting on how striking and unique its aroma was. Anna thanks the Countess, who kindly asks Anna to call her by her name. In her thoughts, Anna envisioned a future in which Lady Fabia would praise her future tea shop, attracting many important customers. Suddenly, Prince Adrian enters the chambers, asking if the lady had waited long. The lady lets out a little laugh, saying that Anna's company was quite entertaining. He sits down in one of the elegant armchairs and immediately asks what matters had brought her there. Lady Fabia skillfully opens her fan, and while casting a charming glance, she asks whether the tea leaves she had sent as a gift were to the prince's liking. The prince falls silent, to which she replies that in the end she took the liberty of coming to visit him. While the two nobles looked at each other, Anna was thoughtful. If Lady Fabia sent him tea leaves, why had they not been delivered to the tea room? Adrian replied that he had enough tea and therefore did not accept more. Anna became quite confused by his answer. For her, the more tea, the better. Internally, Anna felt discouraged because the rosewood tea leaves had excellent properties, in addition to being extremely rare to find on the market. Lady Fabia closes her fan and says that she understands, then, that Adrian does not need their leaves. She laments, saying that it was truly a shame, as they were premium leaves from the western region of the kingdom. Anna became very anxious upon hearing that they were premium leaves from the western region of the kingdom. And then an awkward silence fell between them. Immediately, Anna apologizes for her posture, as upon hearing about the characteristics of the leaves, she became a little overexcited. Sometime later, the girl walks cheerfully through the palace corridors. Anna was pleased because the nobles had come to an understanding, and Adrian decided to accept some rosewood tea leaves. Standing there in the corridor, Anna noticed that the young woman was one of Lady Fabia's maids. The young woman stared at Anna from afar. Anna walks past her with a subtle nod of her head. She began to feel a little apprehensive. Why was that maid staring at her? The young woman quickly approaches, grabbing Anna by the shoulder and asks her to follow her for a moment. Anna entered the reception room and came across Lady Fabia seated on the sofa. She knew that the lady could not simply use Adrian's palace chambers. The noble lady smiles and tells Anna that there would be no problem, as long as they were not caught. Our protagonist was very wary about all of that. She then asks Anna to sit for a few moments. Soon after, she apologizes if her maid had frightened her in any way. Lady Fabia says that it was a pleasure to see Anna again after so long, and that it would be wonderful if they could talk for a while. She dismisses her maid and reveals to Anna that she had a little gift for her. Another maid approaches and hands the girl a delicate red box. Inside the gift were premium leaves from the western region of the kingdom. It was a selection made especially for Anna. Anna wondered if she could really accept such a gift. Our protagonist thought that despite her beautiful appearance, the noblewoman was somewhat intimidating. To her, it seemed that Lady Fabia was a dangerous and stealthy panther, while Anna felt like an innocent little rabbit beside her. Due to the noble lady's great importance within her family, Anna also thought that she acted like the alpha wolf of a pack. Gesturing with her fan, Lady Fabia says she would like to ask Anna something very important. She wanted to know whether Anna would like to join her at Rosewood Palace. Our protagonist was shocked by that offer. Mentally, Anna needed to weigh the two offers. Working at Rosewood Palace did not guarantee that she would earn a higher salary than what the prince paid her. Besides that, Adrian would possibly miss her services. Anna was caught off guard by her thoughts turning toward Adrian's kind and gentle gaze. After all, it was just a job offer. Why should Anna be worried about his feelings? Lady Fabia reveals to Anna that she shared a kinship with the prince. For her uncle's godson is the second cousin of his aunt. Anna needed a few moments to try to understand what kind of kinship that was, since in truth there was no real relation at all. Our protagonist watches as the lady stands up, and sitting beside Anna, Lady Fabia says that she wishes she would not be seen as unapproachable. The girl lets out a slightly embarrassed laugh. Lady Fabia also reveals that she would love to have someone as kind and talented as her, who prepares wonderful teas, as her servant. The maid from before returns to the chambers, and the lady asks Anna for permission. The young woman whispers something to the noble lady. Later that night, Anna was writing in her magic book. Her mysterious friend asked how her day had been. Anna told him that the Empress had made another surprise visit, and that she ended up discovering that the Red Book was an autobiography of the former monarch, and that she had also received an offer to work with the Rosewoods. The protagonist realized that she should not be revealing such things to anyone, but it was already too late. Her mysterious friend reveals that he had been reading the so-called Red Book, which was a huge piece of gossip in the kingdom, and Anna became very worried. After all, who could have given that book to him? Her friend also comments that the contrast between the two men who disputed the affection of the female protagonist was impressive. Anna was already having a lot of fun with that conversation, and comments that the Duke kept missing his chance to confess his love. But the Emperor did not waste time and declared himself to her. She seemed discouraged when her friend commented that if someone does not confess their feelings, would that invalidate them? If you love someone, you should tell them. Suddenly, Anna is startled by someone knocking on her door very late at night. One of the palace girls explains that a letter had just arrived for her. Anna wonders what that could be about. A letter that began in a mysterious way. At last, Anna read the letter to the end. She was a little confused, because the one who had sent the letter was her sister. The girl felt irritated because her sister always called her little pig, even though they were already adults. Her older sister said she was happy to know that Anna was well, and that their parents also sent their best wishes. The letter said that they would be leaving the mansion to spend a season of social events in the capital. Her sister wished that they could meet in the city by the end of that week, and just thinking about the long hours in the carriage already made her feel sore. Anna was radiant with joy, as it would be the first time she would see her parents and her sister after a long time. The girl decided to send a letter to the house they had in the capital. Anna was so happy with the news that she danced around her room in her nightgown. In the palace kitchen, Mrs. Constance was taking a batch of cookies out of the oven while Arthur watched the sweets in admiration. They looked delicious. That day, they would serve the prince cookies with chocolate chips, and the servants would get the caramel cookies. Mrs. Constance thanks Arthur for the help, as the palace was preparing for the social events to come. The boy asks her when our cookies would be ready. The lady replies that in 10 minutes they would be ready, as that would be the time Anna arrived there. Arthur, while watching Mrs. Constance work, asked if he could take one of the cookies, but was interrupted by someone else who needed her help. Before leaving, she asks the boy if he needed anything, but he says no. She asks him to wait for her. Arthur was salivating just from looking at the cookies. They all looked so delicious. He knew he should not eat them, as they were for the prince. But the smell of freshly baked cookies made the boy get closer and closer. He grabs a cookie at the very moment Mrs. Constance arrives. She freezes when she sees him. Arthur was about to eat the cookie. The cookie falls to the floor, crumbling completely, after Mrs. Constance slaps Arthur's hand. Anna arrives, but the confusion had already begun. In the background, the woman was fiercely scolding Arthur. Mrs. Constance said that the boy had tried to steal one of the cookies made exclusively for the prince. Arthur was very hurt, and also very confused by the woman's reaction, as she was usually quite calm. Anna asks what was going on. Trying to fix the situation, Anna says that if Arthur was hungry, he could have politely asked for a cookie. She offers to help him clean up the mess, and they could go on their break. The jam in that cookie seemed strangely different. Before Anna could see more, Mrs. Constance stepped on the broken cookie. The woman firmly warned that they needed to postpone the afternoon tea until tomorrow. She asks them to leave the kitchen while she cleaned up the mess. Anna was very confused. That afternoon, Anna walked toward the palace garden. But she did not expect to see the beautiful place completely destroyed. Derek was there as well. The young butler asks her not to worry about anything, and claims that on some rainy days, wild animals used to pass through the garden, causing that kind of damage. Anna could not believe him. The girl, with her kind heart, thought about warning Mrs. Constance about the danger. Anna asks Derek if she could go into the garden to gather some herbs. The young man did not think that was a good idea. He explained to her that the ingredients for the royal palace went through several strict inspections before reaching the prince, and because of that, it was not allowed for just anyone to harvest from the garden. Anna seemed a little worried, and the young man called her. Derek asked if there was anything she would like to tell him. The girl explained that she was just curious, but mentally she noticed how his reaction had been strange. Derek says that if there was anything she needed, she just had to ask, and he would arrange it the same day. That area was not very safe due to the repairs, so it was better for her to leave. Sometime later, Adrian and Derek were in the garden, and the butler informs the prince that he did not see any more strange activity there. The prince pauses for a few moments, reflecting. Derek also tells him that he had found Anna in the garden earlier that day, but that he told her it had been caused by wild animals. The young man did not know a good way to say that. Adrian listens as the butler tells him that Anna had asked to pick some herbs from the garden, and that surprised him. Later, already in her room, Anna lets out a long sigh and comments that she had a very exhausting day. From the chaos in the garden to the problems with Mrs. Constance. The girl starts talking with her mysterious friend, who asked how her day had been. She narrated in detail what happened in the kitchen, and then she told him that apparently there were wild animals roaming the nearby hills. Anna laments that even the beautiful flowers in the garden were destroyed. She was happy because talking with someone so attentive was something very special. On the other side of the palace, her mysterious friend, who was actually the prince, oh my God, was surprised to read about the so-called wild animals in the palace garden. He closes the book, thinking that sometimes the timing was strangely perfect. The prince wondered if she was connected to the palace in some way. At night, a mysterious figure walks among the ruins of the garden. The person crouches down and begins to cast a spell. Then, the magic begins to grow stronger and stronger. And soon after, the person releases waves of the spell into the garden. That magic creates even more destruction. She gives a satisfied smile. Our protagonist was calmly organizing some teas in the storage room. Arthur arrived and informed the girl that the prince would soon finish his lunch. Anna says that she will prepare the tea shortly. She also asked if the prince would have company. With a smile, Arthur replies that the empress would be having tea with him. As Anna should have imagined, her presence must have caused great agitation in the kitchen. You could even hear it from there. That afternoon, the girl chose a selection of Assam and Ceylon tea, mixing the two in equal quantities. She also added bergamot and lemon zest to give freshness to the drink. As a final touch, she infused dried fruits and a hint of chocolate. The mixture resulted in a delicious, refreshing tea. Soon after, Anna served the tea to Prince Adrian and the Empress. The noblewoman praised the blend greatly, saying that the bergamot notes made the aroma unique. Anna explained that, in addition, she had used lemon and a touch of chocolate. The Empress asked Anna to send some of that tea to her chambers later. Anna was happy to know that she liked it. Adrian seemed very distracted, mentally wondering if his mysterious friend from the diary had discovered who he was. Was it some kind of setup? Anna noticed his distant look. She approaches him and, interrupting his thoughts, asks if he would like more tea. Adrian explains to her that something was troubling his thoughts. He apologizes if he seemed distracted and comments that Anna's tea always comforted him in some way. The girl was very happy to hear that. Between them, it was undeniable that there was chemistry, and the Empress observed everything attentively. The prince asks for another cup of tea. Suddenly, a gust of wind caused a tremendous noise passing beside Adrian. Soon after, Anna and the prince heard a loud, very frightening scream. The girl quickly turned to try to understand what was happening. Skillfully, the Empress made a great leap. Anna saw the noblewoman jump from the window to the rooftops on the other side of the palace. She wondered if windows like those should break so easily. Apparently, the legends about the royal family's super strength were true. Without the girl noticing, the chandelier on the ceiling began to come loose. Suddenly, its rope snapped. Adrian ran to save Anna. Quickly, the prince grabs the girl, protecting her from the massive chandelier that was collapsing. The large chandelier fell with a loud crash, but Anna was safe in Adrian's arms. He asks her not to move for a few moments. Anna was very distressed, not understanding what was happening. Remembering the noises she had heard, she held on to the prince's arms more tightly. He asks the girl if she was all right. Neither of them suspected that he had a deep cut on his back. Anna realized that she was crying. She confesses that she was so frightened that she was crying from the shock. The prince extended his hand toward her and gently touched the girl's face, wiping her tears and trying to comfort her. Adrian asked if she had hurt herself in any way. On the other side of the corridor, it was possible to see that the Empress had returned. She looked at the two of them in shock. The Empress gave Anna a positive signal. The prince began to say something, but our protagonist could not hear him. Anna knew very well that if it were not for him, she would have been struck by the chandelier. Suddenly, the prince grabbed Anna by the arms and she heard a very sharp scream. She kept hearing a voice telling her to log off. The girl, on the verge of blacking out, asked what log off was. Anna was sleeping on one of the sofas in the prince's study. When she woke up, she sat up on the sofa, still confused about everything that had happened. One of the royal knights approached her, relieved that she was awake. She explained to the girl that the prince had brought her there, and that she could return to her chambers when she felt better. As soon as she reached the corridor, Anna encountered the head maid. Our protagonist was startled as soon as the woman called her name. She greets her superior, and the woman asks that the two of them speak in private. The woman comments that she heard about Anna's fainting, and asks if the young woman was feeling better. Then, she explained that the incident had been the work of a foreigner, leaving Anna even more worried. Anna reflected that this had already been happening quite frequently that month. And on that very day, she had heard several screams, and the chandelier had collapsed. Still trembling a little, Anna confesses to her superior that she was still quite shaken by the recent events. The woman asks Anna to be strong and to get used to that kind of misfortune. She explained that those incidents were becoming frequent, but that day had been much more serious. The Empress was very skilled and managed to control the situation. They should always trust her and move forward. Knowing that those incidents were common in the royal household left Anna much more distressed. She wanted to stay strong, but how? The next day, Anna was awakened by the sound of birds, and she was still very frightened. The girl could hardly believe everything that had happened yesterday. Anna wondered if all of that had been orchestrated by a foreigner. How could they be so powerful? She knew that Noah also used magic, but it was very different. Our protagonist had no idea about the battle taking place between the royal family and the foreigners, but she knew they were dangerous. And if things continued in that direction, what could it mean for her? Inside, Anna's heart was beating very fast. She was increasingly afraid, thinking about how everything had become very dangerous for her, very quickly. Perhaps it was time for her to leave before something happened. On the other side of the palace, Derek tells the prince that he kept the details of yesterday's incidents under wraps. The head maid hands the nobleman a list of the staff members who resigned after the incident. The prince thanks her for managing the matter well. He remembered how frightened Anna had been yesterday. Adrian blames himself for not having protected her moments earlier as soon as the first noise happened. All of that was worrying the prince. Derek asks if he was feeling all right. He replies that he was. As she walked through the corridors, Anna wondered if she should go tell the head maid that she was going to resign. Right behind her, Arthur was running. The boy was calling her repeatedly. He seemed very flustered. He told her that they were short-staffed at the palace. Anna was confused. What did he mean? In the kitchen, Mrs. Constance was very relieved to see her. All the cooks were very agitated. While stirring a pot, the woman asked Anna to help her serve the prince's breakfast, since many employees had left yesterday. Anna explains that she did not know how to cook at all, but Mrs. Constance said it was just an appetizer and that she did not need to worry. While other staff members were overworked, Anna also joined them to help on that chaotic day. The prince was astonished to see Anna serving him breakfast. She brings him a vegetable soup. A short time earlier, Mrs. Constance had made her take the soup and climb the steps to the hall where the prince was eating. Despite being apprehensive, she managed to climb the stairs without spilling anything. The next dish she would serve would be a delicious dessert. A beautiful plate of waffles with seasonal fruits, loaded with butter and honey. As the prince looked at the plate, she remembered that she had to fetch the tea. Anna asks Adrian for permission and rushes off. Adrian smiles because seeing her relatively well made him less worried. The girl returns, pushing her classic tea cart. When she finished, Mrs. Constance called her, asking if Anna could help her with other tasks. Her next duty was to help Arthur stir a stew in a large pot. The soup was so thick that Anna and Arthur became dizzy and exhausted. When they finished, the two felt as if their souls were leaving their bodies. Apparently, the duties were not yet finished, and Mrs. Constance still needed their help with a few things. She knew that things were not very easy, and she thanked the two of them for helping her by making some lemon meringue cookies. With big smiles on their faces, the two thank her for the delicious reward. Before eating, Arthur asks Anna what she wanted to tell him earlier. She says it was nothing important and asks if they managed to tidy everything up from yesterday. She hopes they can fix the roof soon. The three laughed together and were very happy. Anna wished things could always be like that. At night, a heavy rain fell, and Derek and Adrian talked about organizing the repairs to the garden as soon as the weather improved. Around the palace, a dark aura seemed to creep. Suddenly, Adrian noticed something. He spotted Mrs. Constance running in the rain amid the wreckage of the garden. The woman was very out of breath and had not noticed that she was being watched by the prince and the butler. Derek remembered his conversation with Anna when the girl asked if she could pick some tea leaves. Immediately, Derek thought of something. Adrian asked where he was going. Mrs. Constance was being blackmailed by the mysterious figure who spoke about her son's health. Derek shouted, calling for the prince. The mysterious figure placed a small vial into Mrs. Constance's trembling hands. She turned around, surprised to hear the men's voices approaching. Suddenly, Adrian made a great leap, and invoking powers in his magical sword, rushed forward to fight. The woman and the mysterious person watched him in astonishment. Using magical powers, the prince knocked down a large tree, knocking Derek and Mrs. Constance to the ground. The hooded person screamed in agony. Derek was holding Mrs. Constance, now that the two of them were lying on the ground. Beside them, a small vial emitting a faint pink light glowed. He asked if she was all right until he noticed what was before them. The woman was very distressed, trying to explain what that was. But before she could say anything, she was interrupted by Adrian's shining blade. A dark aura emanated from that place. Mrs. Constance and Derek looked at the prince in fear as he wielded a long sword. Derek, trying to help the woman, tries to ask the prince to allow her to explain herself, but Adrian was unyielding, displaying a scorching gaze. Derek tries to negotiate with the prince because if he eliminated Mrs. Constance right there, they would not be able to locate the foreigner. Adrian had a very frightening expression. He ordered the butler to move away from Mrs. Constance, but the young man refused to leave his place. Then, the prince decided to change strategy and ordered that she be taken to the prince consort. Derek helps Mrs. Constance to stand up. Adrian seemed very distressed by all of that. He needed to weigh his options. Inside in the dungeon, Mrs. Constance speaks with Prince Owen from behind the heavy door. He asks if she had done all of that to help her son. With tears in her eyes, she asks how he knew that detail. The prince consort explains that he recognized a hidden magic in the poison she was going to use, explaining that he had already detected that spell in other incidents at the palace. Despite not having a specific name, Owen wondered if a certain blonde young man might be involved with that hooded figure. Furthermore, the prince consort saw Mrs. Constance fitting in well at the palace, so all of that could not be just a farce. He gently asked her to trust him and tell him the whole truth. So, the truth was that for some time a legend had been circulating about a mystical figure among the foreigners who used to test their faith. Those who passed the tests could return to their original worlds. Owen explains that this was an expected outcome, because apparently the woman did not know the characteristic healing powers of the imperial family. Even the strongest poisons would not be effective. She asks for forgiveness because she would do anything to see her son well. The prince continues his explanation that, despite their healing power, they were not able to neutralize all toxins. He believes that Anna's tea must have greatly strengthened Prince Adrian. Owen blames himself for that situation. Before, he believed that he had managed to adjust people to fulfill their proper roles in society. However, he ended up discovering that this was purely his arrogance. The truth was that everyone was hiding their homesickness in some way. But now was not the time to play the victim. The prince consort calls Mrs. Constance and informs her that he will arrange a safe place and a doctor far from the palace. He will do everything to help her return to her original world. He sincerely asks her for forgiveness. The woman asks him why he is apologizing. Owen says that he does not know when that foreigner will attack again, and warns her that she needs to leave the palace as quickly as possible. They would talk again when she was safe. Before leaving, she asks him to wait a moment. She begs him to allow her to write a letter. Warning that they would not have much time, he asks her to hurry. Mrs. Constance begins to write, and a golden light shines near her. She was focused because she wanted to do it in the best possible way. In the letter, she apologizes to Anna and Arthur for leaving so suddenly, but says that she will be back soon and hopes to see them in the future. With tears in her eyes, Mrs. Constance thinks that she must be strong to face the consequences of her actions. Before she could nurture more hope, the hooded person appears beside her and asks, how could she be hiding so well? Immediately, the letter begins to disintegrate. Far away, in the tea storage room, Anna was looking at some jars containing tea. She considered sharing that specific tea with Mrs. Constance. Upon arriving in the kitchen, Anna sees the cooks and servants very busy, but there was no sign of her friend. Anna approaches one of the cooks and asks if he had any news about her. The man explains that she resigned yesterday. Our protagonist was shocked because it seemed very sudden. Sometime later, Anna was quietly crying in the garden as she was very shaken by her friend's sudden departure. Arthur was running around looking for her. Finally, he finds her, and she tries to hide her tears. The boy was also devastated and seemed unable to deal well with the news. Arthur hands Anna the letter that Mrs. Constance had left, in which she promised that they would see each other soon, and confesses to both of them how much she had enjoyed meeting them. Anna says that she should at least have gone to talk to them. Far away in the wooden cabin, Prince Adrian and the prince consort look for Constance, but apparently she had disappeared. Using magic, they realize that she had left a crucial trace, a drawing of an arc. The next day, as usual, Anna was serving the prince's tea. The young woman had a slightly distracted expression. Adrian noticed this and imagined that Anna must be going through a difficult time after Mrs. Constance's departure. He thinks for a moment, trying to come up with an idea. As he takes his teacup, he suggests to the girl that she take another day off. Anna says that it was fine. She could take a day off later. Mentally, she wondered if she seemed very upset. Adrian observes his tea more closely and notices a very graceful detail. He noticed how Anna had added delicate flowers to enhance the flavor of the tea. Then he imagined that a visit to a special place would make her very happy. The prince asks if she had ever been to the royal palace greenhouse. Anna replies that she never had the chance to go, but that she was very curious. With a beautiful smile, he suggests that they have tea time tomorrow afternoon in the greenhouse. He asks her to be at the palace entrance the next day at 3 p.m., as he will send a carriage to pick her up. Anna was very happy with the invitation. Later, Anna was organizing the teas, and she was cheerful because the timing had been very good. It would be her first time in the royal greenhouse, and she wondered if she was bringing enough things. The next day, Anna walked to the palace entrance. She was wearing a beautiful blue and cream dress. In front of her, an elegant white carriage was waiting for her. The coachman asked if she was Anna, the youngest daughter of Count Emmanuel, and the girl said yes. The man stepped down from the coachman's seat and informed her that he would take Anna safely to the greenhouse. Anna entered the carriage. Everything about it felt very elegant to her. There was a lot of space inside, and the young woman noticed how the vehicle was almost bigger than her room. Looking at the scenery through the window, Anna thought they would go much farther. But then she realized that the greenhouse was much closer than she had imagined. She thought that she could have calmly walked such a short distance. The carriage wheels finally stopped, and the coachman announced that they had arrived. Our protagonist stepped down from the carriage. She looked very beautiful. As soon as she saw where she was completely amazed. The greenhouse was a large glass structure with beautiful architecture. Anna looked in admiration at the structure, which was richly adorned with plants. Peeking through the glass, she saw some perfect tea leaves. However, she noticed that the glass had fogged up. Had she gotten too close? She gently tried to wipe the glass. But then she found Prince Adrian staring at her from the other side. After getting quite a fright, our protagonist apologized to the nobleman, asking if he had been waiting for her for a long time. He gestured that he could not hear her. Then he pointed in another direction, signaling for her to enter the greenhouse. Anna walked calmly and went around to the other side of the greenhouse. She slowly opened the door, letting the light in. The royal greenhouse was much larger and more beautiful than she had ever imagined. Adrian was sitting at a table waiting for her, right ahead of her. He said that the tea was already ready and that they could enjoy the day. Anna began to sit down. And then Anna decided to pause to contemplate the magnificent place they were in. Adrian asked if Anna liked the place. The girl, amazed by the green foliage, said that it truly was a very beautiful place. The prince lamented that they had not been able to properly enjoy the tea last time, referring to the afternoon with the empress. Anna quickly stood up and told him that she was very grateful to him for saving her. She also apologized for thanking him so late, and the prince confessed that he was relieved that she was safe and well. Clearing his throat, he revealed that he was the one who should be apologizing. Our protagonist was caught off guard and could not understand what he might be talking about. Adrian shyly confessed that he should not have simply grabbed her like that without her permission. Anna said that it was all right, since it had been a serious situation. He politely thanked her for her understanding. A butler approached, and Adrian explained to the girl that he needed to step away for a few moments. With a gallant look, he suggested that she stay and feel free to explore the greenhouse for as long as she wished. Before leaving, he noticed a family that was arriving. The lady in the yellow dress asked if Adrian had just arrived. She apologized for not greeting him earlier. The prince introduced her as Lady Arbex, the viscountess responsible for the royal greenhouse, and asked the woman to show Anna around the area. Our protagonist found those introductions a bit awkward and asked Lady Arbex if she would like some tea. The blonde young man with green eyes confessed to Anna that he had wanted to meet her for quite some time, as he had heard many compliments about her skills with tea. Anna prepared tea for them, and the young man praised the delicate aroma, also noting how refreshing the blend was. The girl explained that magnolias cooled the body and paired very well with green tea. The young man thanked her for the lessons and told Anna that he still had much to learn. Lady Arbex says that the tea was not bad at all, and the boy says that it is the first time his mother has praised a tea. Anna wonders if that was a compliment. The young man asks if Anna would like to return to the greenhouse that night. She is a little confused by the invitation, but he says that he will send a carriage to pick her up. Later, Anna returned to the greenhouse and did not find the young man, whose name was Mark. Suddenly, a mysterious figure appeared behind her. Who could it be? And that's it for today, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the story. I found it super interesting. At first, I thought the story was going to be something more like a calm, small romance, focusing a bit on the protagonist's passion for tea. But then it took a huge turn. We've got outsiders, forbidden magic, and a very suspicious imperial family, and I'm loving it. Who do you think is the mysterious figure watching everything? And is Noah really helping? Or hiding something much bigger? Is Anna closer to achieving her dream or to losing everything? Tell me your opinions in the comments. I want to hear your theories. And if you want more, don't forget to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos I post. The name of this work is The Maid's Secret Tea Recipe for the Prince, and our recap went up to chapter 21. Kisses, and see you next time.